Although it was already 10 p.m., the air outside was still scorching hot, even in the height of summer. The wide streets of Zhongbei City were almost deserted. Everyone was holed up in their homes with air conditioning. Just then, an ambulance sped past, its siren blaring. Inside the ambulance, Bian Kai lay on the hospital bed, his face covered in blood and his body riddled with wounds, in a deep coma. The accompanying medic was cleaning the wounds on his face, bandaging each one until Bian Kai was completely wrapped up, only his mouth and eyes visible. Sigh, what a fine young man. How'd he get beaten up like this? Luckily someone called an ambulance. Otherwise the blood loss alone could have killed him. Yes, although the bleeding on the surface has stopped, the equipment in the ambulance isn't enough to check his internal organs. If his internal organs rupture and bleed, his life is in danger. Bian Kai couldn't hear the doctor and nurse's conversation. At this moment, his consciousness felt like it was imprisoned in a small, dark room, enveloped by endless darkness and immense pressure. No matter how hard he tried, he seemed unable to break through this darkness. Ding! Just as Bian Kai was in pain and helplessness, a voice suddenly rang out. Detecting host's vital signs. Detection complete. Host remaining lifespan is 1 hour. Meeting the system binding conditions. Initiating binding. 10%, 30%, 70%, 100% binding successful. System name, money to buy life system. System description, for every 100 million spent, the host will gain 1 day of lifespan and 1 skill point. Skill points can be used to improve the host's physique and mental strength, or to exchange for various skills or technical materials. Bian Kai was initially confused, but when he heard he only had 1 hour of lifespan left, he felt utterly hopeless. Was this all his life was going to be? Damn Qianai, damn by Minghui, I'll haunt you even as a ghost. Then, hearing the system say that each 100 million spent would grant a day of lifespan, he cursed loudly. Damn it, are you kidding me? I don't even have 100 yuan in my pocket right now, and you want 100 million? I'm about to die, and you're still mocking me? Get the hell out of here. At this point, Bian Kai was completely reckless. He was about to die anyway, so what did it matter? Ding! Host detected rage. Lifespan minus 20 minutes. Remaining lifespan 40 minutes. What the hell? Bian Kai was utterly speechless. This system was an idiot. However, the system completely ignored Bian Kai and continued speaking in his mind. Activate the attribute panel for the host. Host, Bian Kai. Funds, 64 yuan. Lifespan, 40 minutes. Skill points, 0 points. Constitution, 1 normal human 10. The host is currently in a near-death state. Mental strength, 1 normal human 10. The host is currently in a near-death state. Skills, none. Although Bian Kai was curious about the holographic panel in front of him, the various attributes revealed only one thing. A useless, near-death, poor loser. At this point, he had completely given up. So be it. He'd be a hero again in 18 years. Newbie gift pack delivered. Open it now. Huh? Open. Bian Kai hadn't expected the system to have this function. Hope rekindled in his heart, and he eagerly opened the newbie gift pack. Congratulations, host. You have obtained a supreme black card from the watch country. This card is unique globally, with unlimited funds and no spending requirements. It is for the host's exclusive use and has been automatically linked to all of the host's spending channels. Lifespan, 1 day. The host is no different from an ordinary person for 1 day. 1 day of lifespan? Damn, system. Aren't you being a little stingy? Where's the card? Where's the card with unlimited funds? Bian Kai's newly ignited hope was shattered once again. 1 day of lifespan? What can you do with that? And the promised card is nowhere to be seen. The supreme black card has been placed in the host's backpack. The host can view it after waking up. All right, Bian Kai, blinded by anger, had forgotten he was still unconscious. The attribute panel floating in front of him had changed after opening the newbie gift pack. Host, Bian Kai. Funds, unlimited. Lifespan, 1 day, 38 minutes. Skill points, 0. Constitution, 6, normal human 10. Mental strength, 7, normal human 10. Skills, none. With the change in the attribute panel, Bian Kai seemed to see a ray of light tearing through the darkness, and a warm current flowed through his body. The ambulance had arrived at the hospital entrance. 2 nurses hurriedly pulled the bed off the ambulance and rushed it towards the emergency room. Lying on the hospital bed, Bian Kai suddenly opened his eyes. After a moment of adjustment, he realized he was being rapidly moved along the bed and said, could you stop for a moment? The nurse pushing the bed was startled and gasped. You're awake. We can't stop now. We need to get you a CT scan right away to check for internal bleeding, otherwise you might not survive. Upon hearing this, Bian Kai sat up abruptly, startling the doctor and nurses. Everyone froze, and the bed stopped moving. But Bian Kai's next action shocked them. Seeing the bed finally stop, he grabbed the bed railing with his right hand, flipped off, and ran away in a flash. Dr. Zhang, did that person run away? Wasn't he seriously injured? A pretty young nurse, who looked to be only about 20 years old, asked. He must have run away, right? Seriously injured is seriously injured. Damn it, I don't know either, let's just pack up. Dr. Zhang didn't know how to answer either. Seeing the nurse's disbelieving look, he suddenly became furious, the usually gentle and refined man swearing. Then he told the others to pack up the bed and medical equipment, and walked back to his office, looking utterly dejected. His diagnosis couldn't be wrong. It was definitely seriously injured, but damn it, who's ever seen someone seriously injured run faster than a rabbit? Meanwhile, Bian Kai, who had already run 200 meters, hid in a corner, rummaging through his backpack, and muttering to himself. Damn it, thank goodness I ran fast, otherwise I would definitely have been caught and dissected for research, like a monster. Bian Kai ran because he realized his wounds had completely healed, and his body had fully recovered to its pre-attack state, without a single injury. If the doctor found out, that would be terrible. Of course he had to run. This is just the supreme black card from the watch country, nothing special. Bian Kai rummaged around for a while, and finally found a completely black bank card in the corner of his backpack. The decoration was very simple. A lifelike 5-clawed golden dragon extended from the back of the card to the front, followed by the Watch Country Bank logo and a card number. The card number was a normal 16-digit number, nothing special. Besides a magnetic stripe and a copper chip, there was nothing else. If it weren't for the magnetic stripe and chip, Bian Kai would have suspected it was a membership card for some kind of club. The card's material seemed different from regular bank cards. Bian Kai tried to bend it with his hands, but found he couldn't budge it. What the hell is this material? It's so hard. What he didn't know was that the card was entirely made of carbon fiber, second only to diamond in hardness. How could it possibly be bent? After finding his bank card, Bian Kai removed all the bandages from his body and used his broken phone screen as a mirror to get a decent look at himself. Sure enough, although his face was still covered in blood, the original wounds had disappeared. Through his torn short-sleeve shirt, Bian Kai could see that the bruises on his body were gone. However, running out like this would definitely get him reported to the police. After all, his blood-soaked appearance was quite frightening. Bian Kai simply tore off his shirt completely and used it as a towel to wipe the blood from his face. Soon, a handsome young man with chiseled features, a high-nosed bridge, deep-set eyes, and slightly dark skin appeared. The only pity was that Bian Kai was too thin. At 1.8 meters tall, he only weighed 120 pounds, practically frail. No wonder he'd been beaten so badly. But the white pants he had specially worn to see Qian and I that night were now ruined, also covered in blood. Although it was past 10 p.m. and the streets weren't crowded, he still couldn't bring himself to run around naked in the street. Finally, he had no choice but to leave the secluded corner and walk to the roadside, finally managing to flag down a taxi. But the taxi driver, seeing Bian Kai shirtless and covered in blood, immediately sped away. Frustrated, Bian Kai gave up on hailing a taxi and decided to walk home via side streets. Luckily, the hospital wasn't far from the school, about an hour's walk. As he walked, Bian Kai reminisced about his relationship with Qian and I. Qian and I was his high school classmate, and Bian Kai had fallen for her at first sight, completely smitten. Back then, Bian Kai was the school heartthrob at Town No. 1 High School. Although he always wore shabby clothes due to his family's poverty, it couldn't hide his handsome looks. Town was Bian Kai's hometown, belonging to Zhongbei City, but located in the most remote southern part of Zhongbei City, consistently ranking last in the city's economic level. Therefore, although Town was a county-level administrative unit, its name wasn't actually Qinga County. It was simply too poor. Back then, Qian and I was very beautiful, with a classic oval face, fair skin, and a shapely figure despite being only 1.65 meters tall. Her flawless eyes shone with innocence and kindness. Most importantly, she also harbored feelings for Bian Kai, a handsome and academically gifted young man. Because high school forbade students from dating, both of them kept their feelings hidden. After the college entrance exam results came out, Bian Kai scored over 690 points, becoming the top scorer in Zhongbei City, easily qualifying for world-class universities like Tsinghua, Peking, and Peking universities. Qian's score was only over 650 points, still quite high, but impossible for her to get into Tsinghua, Peking, or Peking universities. For Qian's sake, Bian Kai gave up special admission offers from Tsinghua, Peking, and Peking universities and applied to Zhongbei University along with her. Zhongbei University was the top-ranked university in Zhongbei City, but it didn't even rank in the top 20 in the entire Xia Kingdom. However, Bian Kai didn't regret it. At the beginning of his freshman year, Bian Kai expressed his love to Qian and I, but Qian and I said that they were too young and should wait a couple of years. Bian Kai thought it wouldn't matter if it took 2 years, since he knew Qian and I loved him. However, he didn't expect Qian and I to gradually become lost in the glamour of the big city. Bian Kai couldn't remember when it started, but Qian and I began to become materialistic and vain. Her love for him gradually turned into disgust, and she even called him a penniless loser who couldn't give her anything. From freshman to sophomore year, besides studying and working part-time, Bian Kai devoted all his energy to Qian and I. He spent all the money he earned from part-time jobs on her, taking meticulous care of her. Throughout, he never once lost his temper with Qian and I. Even when she berated him mercilessly, he would only smile and promise to make a lot of money to support her after graduation. Towards the end of the sophomore semester, Bian Kai discussed going back to his hometown with Qian and I, but she told him she was going on a trip with her classmates and wouldn't be going home this year. Bian Kai was disappointed, but helpless. Knowing his 2-year promise to Qian and I was nearing its end, he decided not to go home. He would stay in Zhongbei City to work and earn money to buy Qian and I a decent gift to win her over as his girlfriend. After 2 months of work, Bian Kai finally saved up 5,000 yuan and bought the bag Qian and I had been longing for. However, that very evening, as he walked out of the mall with the bag, imagining his confession, he suddenly saw Qian and I also leaving the mall. But Qian and I didn't see him. She walked straight to the parking lot and got into a sports car. Inside sat someone he would never forget. It was Bian Kai's wealthy roommate, Bai Minghui. Bai Minghui's family was in the real estate business and frequently used shady methods to suppress or frame other real estate companies. But they always managed to cover it up perfectly. Everyone knew it was the Bai family, but no one could find any evidence. Therefore, the Bai family rapidly accumulated vast wealth, becoming the absolute leader in Zhongbei City's real estate industry, with assets reaching hundreds of billions. Bai Minghui was the sole heir of the Bai family. Since Bian Kai spent his time either studying, working, or revolving around Qian and I, his relationship with Bai Minghui was rather strained. Of course, Bai Minghui looked down on Bian Kai, this poor loser. What good was being handsome? These days, being handsome but poor only leads to being a bastard, essentially just jealous of Bian Kai's better looks. The other two in the dormitory were completely bought off by Bai Minghui's money, becoming his sycophants, and therefore also disliked Bian Kai. Fortunately, at the beginning of their sophomore year, the other two got girlfriends and rented apartments. Of course, rich kids like Bai Minghui only lived in the dormitory for a short time during freshman military training. Afterwards, they never lived on campus again. Bian Kai, watching the sports car drive away, was furious. He took out his phone and called Qian and I, but it took a long time to connect. It was Bai Minghui who answered the phone. Hey, Bian Kai, why are you answering the phone? Where's Qian and I? Bai Minghui glanced at Qian and I, sitting in the passenger seat, sneering inwardly. What's the use of being handsome? What's the use of being smart? She can't even get a drink of my foot bath water. Oh, looking for your goddess? Your goddess is busy with work right now. She'll call you back later. Then the call was disconnected, and Bian Kai tried to call back, but the phone was switched off. About half an hour later, Qian and I called. She didn't respond to Bian Kai's questions, only coldly saying she wanted to talk. They agreed to meet on a small path east of the school. Looking at Qian's beautiful, delicate face, as red as an apple, Bian Kai felt as if his heart had been stabbed. Qian and I, didn't you say you were going on a trip? Why are you with Bai Minghui? Although he already knew what had happened, Bian Kai still wanted a clear answer. However, before Qian and I could speak, a voice suddenly rang out behind Bian Kai. A trip? Huh, she's been with me all summer. What kind of trip is that? Bian Kai whirled around at the sound of the voice, only to find Bai Minghui standing behind him with 2 men. Qian and I, come here. You're too slow. Let me help you. Hurry up and finish. Our business isn't done yet. We need to continue. Bai Minghui completely ignored Bian Kai's furious glare, looking expectantly at Qian and I, who had become somewhat shy because of his words. The business hadn't been handled very efficiently earlier, mainly because Qian's skills needed improvement. She required more training. Now, seeing Qian's beautiful yet shy appearance, the young master couldn't wait to begin the training. Bai Minghui, you son of a bitch. Bai Minghui's lecherous gaze and Qian's shy demeanor completely drove Bian Kai to madness. He rushed towards Bai Minghui, raising his fist to strike, but before he could even throw a punch, a burly man beside Bai Minghui kicked him 5 meters away, sending him crashing heavily to the ground. Bian Kai was kicked so hard he coughed up blood, clutching his throbbing stomach as he struggled to his feet, glaring venomously at Bai Minghui. Qian and I stood by, offering no help whatsoever, watching him coldly. Bian Kai, you wanna hit me? You don't know what death means. You couldn't protect your goddess, and you're blaming me? You're a complete waste. Being in the same dorm as you is the greatest humiliation of my life. What's wrong? You've worked for 2 years, and the things you bought for Qian and I don't even amount to what I give her in a single day. Oh, so this is the bag you bought her? Only a loser like you would dare to throw away such trash. Bai Minghui looked at the bag Bian Kai had bought for over 5,000 yuan on the ground with a mocking smile, then stomped on it, grinding it forcefully. All right, it's pointless arguing with a piece of trash like you. I'm gonna hurry to get my business done. You two, get to work. The 2 burly men then proceeded to beat Bian Kai relentlessly for nearly 10 minutes, only stopping when he was completely motionless. Bai Minghui, with his arm around Qian's slender waist, watched the entire beating with great interest. Qian and I nestled in Bai Minghui's arms, a blissful expression on her face, never once glancing at Bian Kai. Before leaving, Bai Minghui approached Bian Kai, knelt down, and whispered in his ear. Bian Kai, I have to thank you. You didn't make me eat your leftovers. How could you be so useless? 2 years. How did you manage to endure it? Like a teenage mutant ninja turtle? But don't be discouraged. We were roommates after all. I'll give them back to you after I'm done with them. Let you have a taste and see if you can handle it. The feeling, TSK. He then got up, put his arm around Qian and I, and left laughing. Bian Kai, enraged by Minghui's words, suffered another stroke, coughing up a mouthful of blood before falling unconscious. His memory abruptly ended. When he awoke, he was in an ambulance. Hate, a boundless hatred filled Bian Kai's heart for Qian and I, and for Bai Minghui. He vowed to make those two pay, to let them experience true despair. Before he could take revenge, he had to make sure he was still alive. So the first thing he had to do was spend money to prolong his life. How could he take revenge if he was dead? An hour later, Bian Kai finally arrived at the gate of North China University. It was summer vacation, and there was still a week before the start of the new semester, so the campus was almost deserted. The school gatekeeper was already dozing off, and Bian Kai sneaked in while he was dozing. The gatekeeper didn't really care about students, but Bian Kai's appearance was too frightening. Being seen would definitely cause him serious trouble. Bian Kai stealthily made his way back to his dormitory, took off his blood-stained pants, threw them in the trash, took a shower, and finally relaxed. Spend money? How do I spend it? Bian Kai lay on his bed, holding the supreme black card from Watch Country, lost in thought. In the 20 years since he was born, he hadn't spent 100 million. Not even 50,000 yuan. Completely clueless, Bian Kai had to take out his phone to check how to spend money. The phone screen was cracked when he was hit, but it still worked. Bian Kai had just opened his browser to check how to spend money when a video ad popped up. It was an ad for the Wawa live streaming platform, featuring a beautiful woman with a figure and looks no less stunning than Qian and I, introducing the platform in a sweet, coquettish voice. Although Bian Kai's life was usually quite monotonous, he was still familiar with Wawa, one of the 3 major live streaming platforms. Occasionally, when he was bored, he would browse it, often amazed by the extravagant gifts sent by the wealthy viewers. However, as awe-inspiring as he was, Bian Kai thought these wealthy viewers were out of their minds, typical examples of people with too much money and no brains. What couldn't they do with that much money? Damn, how could I forget about this system? Does sending gifts on a live streaming platform count as spending? Bian Kai slapped his forehead. How could he have forgotten about that? Sending gifts. That's incredibly expensive. At this moment, he didn't care whether he was out of his mind or not. Survival was the most important thing. The system's answer was very concise, just one word. Yes, that's it. Bian Kai opened a Wawa Live app and first changed his username to everything is fleeting. He changed it this way because he'd already faced death once. So now, nothing mattered except staying alive. After changing it, Bian Kai randomly selected a streamer and entered the chat. Pei Chuxue, Wawa's nickname, first encounter with Snow, was a third-year student at the Central Conservatory of Music and one of its top 10 beauties. To stand out among the many beauties at the Music Academy and become a campus belle, Pei Chuxue's look were off the charts. Bright eyes and white teeth, eyes like stars, skin like jade, long flowing hair, and most captivating were her delicate red lips, neither too thin nor too thick, neither too big nor too small, just right on her oval face. Looking at her face alone, Pei Chuxue seemed like a classical beauty who had stepped out of painting, but beneath that face was an absolutely stunning figure. She had a long, fair neck, a curvaceous figure, and long, straight, and remarkably well-proportioned legs. Pei Chuxue was 1.7 meters tall, with legs alone reaching a meter in length, and a slender waist that could be encircled with a single hand. If Pei Chuxue's appearance were to be scored out of 100, she would easily score at least 98. Such stunning beauty naturally attracted many suitors, mostly wealthy second-generation heirs. Those without substantial wealth wouldn't even dare to make a move. However, Pei Chuxue knew the true nature of these rich kids. One of her former roommates nearly committed suicide after being dumped by a rich heir who quickly abandoned her. From that moment on, Pei Chuxue harbored extreme disgust for rich kids. But learning music was too expensive, requiring the purchase of various instruments and dance classes, which her family, being of modest means, simply couldn't afford. So she resorted to live streaming on the Wawa platform to earn money. Initially, she gained a large following thanks to her exquisite appearance, beautiful voice, and professional dance skills. Every time she went live, the number of viewers in her stream would instantly exceed 100,000. She quickly became one of the top 3 entertainment streamers on the Wawa platform, receiving countless gifts. But this good fortune didn't last. Because Pei Chuxue never added any of the big spenders as friends and never accepted any real-life invitations from them, she was gradually abandoned. She never intended to bring these online relationships into real life, especially since she clearly knew what those people's intentions were. She was even less likely to agree. But the big spenders who showered her with gifts didn't think that way. They weren't just spending so much money for a simple, thank you, big spender. They wanted people, real people they could do business with in real life. As a result, the longer she streamed, the more big spenders Pei Chuxue offended, and eventually almost none of them came to her stream anymore. Why bother? Spending so much money and getting nothing but a thank you, big spender. Why not use that money to find other streamers? So now, although Pei Chuxue's stream is still very popular, often ranking the top 3 in terms of viewership, she only receives small gifts worth a few cents. However, Pei Chuxue didn't care. She had already earned enough money for her schooling, and the only reason she continued streaming was because she loved it. She loved singing, dancing, and performing on stage. Although the streaming platform wasn't a stage, it had a much larger audience. Because of Pei Chuxue's popularity, the Wawa platform featured her stream on its homepage, and Bian Kai casually clicked into it. Everything is fleeting, he entered the stream. Bian Kai had never sent gifts on the Wawa platform, so he was still just a level 0 Kalami, and his entry went unnoticed. Recharge portal. Oh, here it is. After much searching, Bian Kai finally found a recharge option, which was only accessible through the gift section. Damn, how come a maximum recharge is only 50,000 at a time? When will I ever reach 100 million? Bian Kai stared at the recharge interface, speechless. Couldn't they offer a larger recharge limit? Activating the Emperor title unlocks a higher recharge limit. That's good, but I wonder what the maximum is. Ideally, it should be a direct 100 million recharge. Otherwise, just recharging will exhaust this guy. The Emperor title requires an initial investment of 500,000, with a monthly renewal fee of 120,000. Bian Kai followed the activation process step by step, discovering that real name authentication was required. He had no choice but to enter his name, ID number, and have his face scanned. Then he arrived at the bank card binding interface. He found that his black card was already bound to the platform. All he needed to do was set a payment password. After setting the password, I returned to the page for activating titles. Clicking on the Emperor title, a dialog box popped up. Activate the Emperor Guardian title for Chu Feng by Xue. Please confirm. Confirm. Congratulations, you have successfully activated the Emperor Guardian title for Chu Feng by Xue. Everything is fleeting. Activated the Emperor title in Chu Feng by Xue's live stream room. Just after Bian Kai successfully activated the title, a large red barrage of comments, surrounded by fireworks, appeared in all the live stream rooms. Immediately afterward, Pei Chuxue's live stream room exploded. Millions of people were attracted by this barrage, and the comments scrolled wildly. Holy crap, someone's given Baigo a title again, and it's an Emperor title this time. Because Pei Chuxue had never added any big spenders as friends, she had the nickname Baigo on the Frog Frog platform, meaning that spending money on her was pointless. Damn it, another big spender blinded by beauty. Big spender, calm down, you won't get anything here. Look, this account was actually a level 0 alt before, but it was registered a year ago. That's so true. We can't really see through big spenders' actions. Respect to this hidden big spender. Baigo made a killing again. Being good looking really does make money. Pei Chuxue was also startled by the sudden Emperor title. It had been a long time since anyone had given her title in her live stream, not even the lowest baron. Thank you, Brother Fuyun, for granting Xue the title of Emperor. Would you like Shue to sing or dance? Pei Shue was no stranger to grand occasions. Her livestream once witnessed the unprecedented feat of granting 5 Emperor titles in a single night, a truly historic moment for the Wawa platform. However, that was a long time ago, so she was momentarily stunned before quickly recovering and thanking the brother for the title. But inwardly, she was seething with resentment. Just another one coveting my looks. Shot too much. I'm not someone you can get just by spending money. This is so fake. Streamer, this is so fake. Floating Cloud is an Emperor level streamer, and you just sing a song and dance? That's so insincere. Upstairs, are you new here? Don't you know Shue's nickname, Freebie? It's good enough that you can sing and dance. TSK, a big shot is a big shot. Spending 500,000 to listen to songs and watch dances, we really don't understand the world of the rich. Come on, this big shot clearly hasn't been to Shue's stream before, otherwise he definitely wouldn't have open title. He's probably fantasizing about doing business with Shue right now. Upstairs, shut your dog mouth. I like this about Shue. She treats everyone equally, rich or poor. How great. The banners floating across the platform. Pei Shue's thanks, the frantically scrolling subtitles, and the instant influx of 1 million viewers. Bian Kai didn't see any of this. He was currently frantically recharging. After opening the Emperor title, the platform opened a recharge channel with a maximum limit of 1 million. Even so, Bian Kai still had to perform 100 transactions to recharge 100 million. He'd have to buy a day's worth of life first. He was exhausted no matter how much he spent. Damn, this is exhausting. Isn't he supposed to be an emperor? Why only 1 million? Can't he just give me a 100 million channel? After working for over half an hour, he finally recharged 100 million, leaving Bian Kai completely worn out. Spending money is hard work. While he was recharging, Pei Shue and the millions of viewers in the live stream were somewhat bewildered. What does this big shot mean? He activated the emperor status, but there was no reaction at all. He hadn't left the live stream. His avatar was still at the top of the leaderboard. Is it really true that his name means everything is fleeting? Everyone waited for 10 minutes, but the big shot still didn't react. Many people left the live stream, losing interest. Originally, everyone thought they'd see a big shot training a female streamer, but it seems she just came to give away money, not saying a word. 20 minutes after Bian Kai recharged, only the initial 100,000 odd viewers remained in the live stream. Everyone who was watching the spectacle had left. It was already past midnight, and Pei Shue should have ended her stream by now, but the big shot hadn't left or said anything, so she didn't dare move. Although she wouldn't add the big shot as a personal friend, he had given her so much money, she should at least show him some respect online. That was 500,000 yuan, even though she only received 250,000. But 250,000 yuan was a huge sum for many people, and it would be unreasonable for her to end the stream without the big shot's permission. Helpless, with the big shot silent and not knowing what he liked, Pei Shue could only showcase her talents one by one. However, what Pei Shue didn't know was that Bian Kai didn't care about her at all. In Bian Kai's mind, this was just a way to buy his life. Bian Kai finally managed to top up 100 million after a lot of effort, but when he opened the gift list, he couldn't help but curse. Damn it, the most expensive gift is only 20,000 yuan, and that's an Emperor exclusive gift. How long will it take to top up 100 million? Bian Kai was completely speechless. He thought topping up was a physical task, but he didn't expect giving gifts to be even more exhausting. Oh well, my life is more important. I'll just have to endure the fatigue. Then Bian Kai's fingers began frantically clicking on the Emperor exclusive gift called Dragon Soars Across the 4 Seas. Emperor, everything is fleeting. Gifted to Chu phone by Shue. Dragon Soars Across the 4 Seas, asterisk 1 inch. Emperor, everything is fleeting. Gifted to Chu phone by Shue. Dragon Soars Across the 4 Seas, asterisk 2 inch. Emperor, everything is fleeting. Gifted to Chu phone by Shue. Dragon Soars Across the 4 Seas, asterisk 500 inch. It exploded. It completely exploded. The Dragon Soars Across the Seas gift, the most expensive exclusive gift for emperors on the Frog platform, sent a barrage of comments across the entire platform whenever it's sent. Not only did the more than 1 million people who had previously left return to Pei Shue's live stream, but the continuous barrage of comments across the platform completely absorbed everyone currently online on Frog. Tens of millions of people flooded into Pei Shue's live stream. But fortunately, Frog servers were of high quality, and there was no lag despite the massive influx of viewers. Beautiful gift effects continuously floated across the live stream screen, with golden dragons weaving through a sea of clouds, the screen filled with effects that completely obscured Pei Shue's view. Holy crap, the big boss is unleashing his power. He's going to break the Frog record tonight. Over 1,000 dragons already. It seems Floating Cloud is truly bewitched by beauty. Over 20 million has already been spent in such a short time. I wonder if this freebie will sway him. Floating Cloud is too domineering. Open the betting. Let's bet on whether freebie will be won over by Floating Cloud this time. I bet he can win. If he can't, I'll do a handstand and eat shit on live stream. It's very uncertain. Although Floating Cloud's spending is amazing, the title freebie isn't given lightly. The comment section has completely gone crazy. I just can't keep up with the scrolling speed. The refresh rate is too fast. Pei Shue in front of the camera is truly dumbfounded this time. Emperors have been offered to her, and not just one. Others have also given her dragon soaring across the 4 seas gifts. She'd never seen this kind of gift giving before. In just a short while, she'd received over 2,000 dragons, and the big spender didn't seem to be stopping. At this moment, Pei Shue was starting to panic. There was just too much money. She'd been streaming for a year, but the gifts she'd received in that year had barely broken 10 million. But in less than 5 minutes, the gifts from the big spender, Fuyun, had already exceeded her entire year's earnings from streaming. Brother Fuyun, please stop. Shue won't add you as a friend. Whatever song or dance you want to hear, Shue will show you. Please stop. Or Shue could even host a special stream just for you. Whatever talent you want to see, Shue will fulfill your request. Pei Shue, seeing that she'd already received over 3,000 dragons, completely panicked and actually begged Bian Kai to stop. At this moment, Bian Kai was frantically clicking away while watching the scrolling comments in the chat, only then realizing that he had done something truly outrageous. It wasn't entirely his fault. Before, he was just a poor nobody. In Bian Kai's eyes, 100 million was the same as 100,000 yuan. Both were huge sums, far beyond his reach. Furthermore, he hadn't paid any attention to how much money the big spenders on live streaming platforms actually spent. In fact, all the big spenders on live streaming platforms who showered gifts were either guild accounts or had ulterior motives. There were no exceptions. Guild accounts were given. They spent gifts purely to promote someone, their ultimate goal being to exploit viewers. Those with ulterior motives weren't stupid either. If spending hundreds of thousands didn't generate any business, they'd simply give up and move on to the next target. Therefore, a big spender like Bian Kai, who didn't say anything and immediately showered tens of millions of yuan with gifts, was a one-of-a-kind figure, not just on Wawa, but on any other live streaming platform. Is this woman crazy? Who wants to add you as a friend? I'm practically dead already. What's the point of adding you as a friend? It's better if she doesn't. Bian Kai naturally heard Pei Shue's words. Unaware of the unspoken rules of live streaming platforms, he thought sending gifts was just a way to buy time. Why add her as a friend? Wasn't it chaotic enough already? She even went on a live stream singing and dancing for me? I don't have that kind of time. Wouldn't it be better to spend more money to extend my lifespan? Right? What does this female streamer look like again? The gift effects are too big. I can't see her at all. Forget it. Who cares what she looks like? Let's spend this 100 million and see if it can extend my lifespan first. Emperor, everything is fleeting. Given to Chufeng Baishua, dragon soaring across the four seas, asterisk 4500. Emperor, all things are fleeting. Given to Chufeng Baishua, dragon soaring across the four seas, asterisk 4800. Emperor, all things are fleeting. Given to Chufeng Baishua, dragon soaring across the four seas, asterisk 5000. For 10 minutes, Bian Kai spent a full 10 minutes gifting, finally completing 100 million. At this point, he could no longer feel his fingers. They were completely numb, and even his arms were aching. The comment section was beyond insane. It was utterly inhumane, unbearable to watch, scrolling at incredible speed. I'm convinced. I'm truly convinced. From now on this live streaming platform, I only acknowledge floating cloud boss. Am I seeing things? Are there really 5,000 dragons? You guys need to confirm this for me. The person upstairs is confused, right? It's 5,000 dragons. By the way, how much is one dragon again? Oh, 20,000. Holy crap. Did Boss Fuyun spend 100 million? My mom asked me why I was kneeling while looking at my phone. I told her about Boss Fuyun's exploits, and then she knelt down too. That's huge. Boss Fuyun's vision is too big. If he doesn't take this freebie, he might not be able to work on Frog anymore. Fine, he won't work anymore. 100 million. Shue will only get 50 million. Even after taxes, she'll still have over 40 million. If I had that 40 million, I'd fire the boss. Pei Shue was completely stunned. This guy's spending was beyond her comprehension. She was starting to waver. This big spender was willing to spend 100 million on her. He must genuinely like her. But what if he's a balding, greasy middle-aged man? No, I can't let money blind me. I'll just return the money to him. The internet is the internet. I can't let it take into reality. Brother Fuyun, you spent too much. Shue feels unworthy. Could you tell me your bank account number, and I'll return the money to you? Pei Shue's words caused another uproar in the live stream. As expected, it's a freebie again. They've already given away 100 million, and he still won't give in. Floating Cloud's 100 million is probably going down the drain. I feel like Shue is completely finished on Frog this time. Even after all this, she still won't add him as a friend. Who will dare to send her gifts in the future? She's definitely finished. If it were me, I'd just take the 40 million and run away. A refund? What a load of rubbish. However, just as everyone was discussing this intensely, Floating Cloud disappeared again. The top-ranked player's avatar was still there, but the player remained silent. Bian Kai had no time for chatting. He immediately summoned his attribute panel in his mind, the information of which had changed after he spent 100 million. Host, Bian Kai. Funds, unlimited. Lifespan, 1 day, 22 hours. Skill points, 1 point. Constitution, 6, normal human 10. Mental strength, 7, normal human 10. Skills, none. Few. Bian Kai let out a heavy sigh. The system hadn't lied to him. Spending 100 million really had added 1 day to his lifespan. But this seemed too pitiful. Knowing how long he had left to live was a painful thing. No, he had to spend more money, like crazy. But livestream gift giving was too slow. Bian Kai simply didn't have the courage to go all out again, and he was already at his limit. Too much had happened today. He was utterly exhausted and couldn't take it anymore. Forget it, he'd better sleep first. He needed to be well rested to spend money more effectively. Bian Kai immediately shut down the Frog Live platform, set his alarm, and drifted off to sleep. While he was asleep, Pei Shue and the tens of millions of viewers in the live stream were completely dumbfounded. This big spender had spent 100 million yuan on gifts, and then just left. What the hell was that? Was he angered by the female streamer's words and felt hopeless? So he left? Did the big spender leave? Really left? It seems, yes, he really left. Holy crap, I'm speechless. That's too extravagant. Inhumanly extravagant doesn't even begin to describe it. This is definitely tomorrow's headline. Mysterious tycoon, Brother Fuyun spends 100 million yuan on love, and a female streamer actually wants a refund? Giving away like that really went too far this time. That's 100 million yuan. You really didn't give the big spender any face. Look, you've angered him so much he left. Pei Shue didn't know what to do. She sent Bian Kai a private message, but it showed he was offline, and all messages were unread. Was he really angry? So what? Fine, I'll refund your money. I don't want it anymore, okay? Babies, that's all for today's live stream. See you next time. Pei Shue finished speaking, and, ignoring the reactions of the millions of viewers in the live stream room, directly ended the stream. Although she left the live stream, Pei Shue sat in her chair, stunned, for a long time. It was too surreal. Tonight was too surreal. She wanted to refund Fuyun Ge, but he completely ignored her. Playing hard to get? Pretending to be indifferent to attract my attention? But this tactic is too old-fashioned. It can't even produce a primary school graduation certificate. What exactly does this guy mean? Pei Shue racked her brains for a long time, still unable to understand why Bian Kai had given her so many gifts. Was he asking to get to know her? Asking her to date him? Asking her to do some business? Whatever he was asking for, big brother, at least say something, otherwise how am I supposed to know what to do? Tonight is destined to be a sleepless night for Pei Shue. Shanghai. At the headquarters of Frog Company, a tall, beautiful girl with light makeup, around 25 or 26 years old, knocked on the door of President Dai Tianlu's office. Gumin. Dai Tianlu hadn't left work yet. In an internet company, working day and night was normal. What's the rush? Dai Tianlu was puzzled when his usually composed and elegant secretary rushed in, looking flustered. Mr. Dai, there's something wrong. Someone just deposited 100 million yuan into our platform, and it's all been spent. How much? 100 million. Dai Tianlu looked at his secretary in disbelief. Yes, Mr. Dai, 100 million, and it was spent immediately after the top-up, transferred to Chufeng Baishua. Chufeng Baisu, I know that girl. She is indeed very beautiful, but isn't 100 million a bit too much? Mr. Dai, that's not the most crucial point. The most crucial point is that this big spender didn't say a word from beginning to end. Judging from the back-end data, it seems he simply wanted to spend 100 million. Is that strange? Can you find this person's information? Yes, this person has completed real name authentication. According to the authentication information, this person's name is Bian Kai. Age only 20, home in Qinghai Town, Zhongbei City, Jiangnan Province, and mobile phone number is 131. Dai Tianlu fell into deep thought upon hearing this. It couldn't be money laundering. The Frog platform is connected to the anti-money laundering system, and if it were money laundering, it would immediately issue a warning. That means this person's money came from a legitimate source, but this behavior is too strange. All right, immediately seal off the news. Don't reveal a single word about this person. Tomorrow, you proactively contact him and ask if he has any needs. Build a good relationship. We absolutely cannot let another platform let such a tycoon away. Dai Tianlu thought for a long time before giving this task to his female secretary, who then left the office. As it turned out, Dai Tianlu was indeed skilled at operating such a large live streaming platform. Bian Kai's extravagant spending caused a huge stir in the live streaming world. Many people, including those from other live streaming platforms like Douyu, Daodu, and Manhwa, were trying to find out where this big shot came from. Some even secretly called the staff of the Wawa platform, trying to ask about this tycoon. Fortunately, Dai Tianlu reacted quickly enough, and Bian Kai's information wasn't leaked. In other words, only the Wawa platform knew some information about this tycoon. Everyone else had no idea who the Shima Shosher Fuyun, a nickname for Bian Kai, really was. Ring ring ring. The alarm clock woke Bian Kai from sleep. After turning off the alarm, Bian Kai immediately summoned the system panel in his mind. Host, Bian Kai. Funds, unlimited. Lifespan, 1 day, 15 hours. Skill points, 1 point. Constitution, 6, normal human 10. Mental strength, 7, normal human 10. Skills, none. Damn, time is running out. I slept for 7 hours and my lifespan decreased. I need to go out and spend some money right away. Bian Kai got up as fast as he could, brushed his teeth, washed his face, threw on some very cheap clothes, and went out. He originally planned to eat at the school cafeteria, but when he reached the cafeteria entrance, he suddenly looked towards the Shuefu Hotel across the street. This was a 4-star private hotel. The reason it could be located within Zhongbei University was partly because it allowed the university to pay a considerable amount in rent. Another advantage is the convenience it provides when school leaders visit or when academic conferences are held, eliminating the need to search for a hotel elsewhere. It said that the bidding process for this hotel was fierce, with everyone knowing how profitable a hotel located on a university campus would be. As a result, the bid price soared from the initial $50 million to $500 million, ultimately winning the bid from a chain hotel owner in Zhongbei City. To secure the contract, this owner sold all his other hotels to raise the $500 million, and later took out a $100 million loan to build the university hotel. However, the hotel truly made a profit. The owner paid off the loan in just 2 years, and after that, it was pure profit, making many envious. Bian Kai stopped in his tracks on his way to the school cafeteria and turned to enter the Shuefu Hotel. He could easily be called the world's richest man now. After all, his funds were limitless, and he had to spend them relentlessly, or he'd be dead. With such means, why bother eating at the school cafeteria? Why not just eat to his heart's content at the Shuefu Hotel? It might not cost much, but every little bit counts, right? Hello, welcome to the Shuefu Hotel. Are you here for a meal, or to stay overnight? As soon as Bian Kai stepped into the Shuefu Hotel, a slender and pretty waitress greeted him. To be fair, the service at the Shuefu Hotel was quite good. They didn't ignore him because of his cheap clothes. I'm King. Give me the largest private room, and bring me all your most expensive dishes. Bian Kai was radiating arrogance, immediately ordering the most expensive items. Do you have friends coming? I'm so sorry, but our largest private room costs 10,000 yuan, and a 100,000 yuan deposit is required in advance. The waiter maintained a smile, but inwardly felt a bit contempt. Is this guy crazy? He looks like a student, dressed in rags, trying to act all high and mighty with me. He's quite handsome, but unfortunately, he's an idiot. I brought up the 100,000 yuan deposit. Hopefully, he'll back off. Okay, no problem. Swipe your card. Bian Kai thought. Only 100,000 yuan? That's less than 2 minutes of my lifespan. Not even as long as the meal itself. But you still need to eat. You can't starve. The waiter took the VIP black card from Bian Kai, somewhat bewildered. Can this card be used? I've never seen a bank card like this before. He tried on the POS machine, and surprisingly, the transaction was successful without even a pin. Bian Kai had actually wondered why the system didn't tell him the pin, but then he realized that only he could use this card. No one else could use it, so setting a pin didn't matter. Furthermore, when he received the card, an app appeared on his phone. This app was different from normal mobile banking. It didn't display the balance, had no complicated functions, and the page was very simple, just a transfer page. He filled in the recipient's name, account number, and transfer amount, clicked the transfer button, and then scanned his face. And this app could only be used by Bian Kai, as if the backend system only recognized his face. Through the inquiry system, Bian Kai knew that if he changed phones, the software would automatically install on the new phone, while the software on the old phone would automatically disappear. Sir, please put your card away and follow me. The waiter's attitude became much more respectful than before. The previous attitude was at the hotel's request. Now, the waiter was genuinely impressed. A breakfast costing 100,000 yuan. This was the epitome of extravagance. Bian Kai followed the waiter forward and soon entered a private room that was at least 200 square meters. The enormous dining table could seat at least 30 people. There were various entertainment facilities nearby, even a small stage. The outermost ring was lined with top-quality solid-wood sofas. The various luxurious furnishings dazzled Bian Kai. Is this what life is like for the rich? It's so damn extravagant. Just a meal, and they're making it so lavish. Bian Kai casually found a chair and sat down, then told the waiter to hurry up and bring the food. He was in a rush. The waiter didn't dare delay. After confirming Bian Kai's order, he rushed to the kitchen. This tycoon had ordered over 20 dishes, including 2 lobsters that cost 28,000 yuan each. These are the most expensive dishes at the Shuefu Hotel. Bian Kai had originally planned to order 10 lobsters, but they only had 2 left, so he had to order other things. The waiter reminded him that he couldn't finish so much food, but Bian Kai shut her up with one sentence. He knew he couldn't eat it all, but it would cost him money. Having grown up in poverty, he couldn't bear to waste food, so he simply gave it to the hotel staff. That way, he spent the money and didn't waste anything. The waitress was speechless. She'd never seen such a bizarre person before. Did they have too much money to burn? However, the customer is always right, and whatever the customer says goes. But it was still best to report the matter, since the hotel strictly prohibited waitresses from eating customers' leftovers. Even if it was thrown away, it couldn't be eaten. It was a matter that hotel management had to take responsibility for. The waitress reported the matter to the manager on duty, who didn't dare make a decision and could only report further. It eventually reached the owner, Chu Tianhe, who was also very curious about such an oddball. But since the customer said he'd give it to the staff, he'd let him. He wouldn't lose out. But as the owner, he still wanted to thank this unusually generous customer in person. Led by the manager on duty, Chu Tianhe went to private room number 1. The first lobster had already been served, and Bian Kai was hugging the enormous lobster and eating it without any regard for his image. He didn't look like a wealthy customer. He looked more like a beggar who hadn't eaten for 3 days. Knock, knock, knock. Chu Tianhe knocked a few times on the door. After receiving Bian Kai's permission, he entered the private room. The over 50-year-old was startled by the young man before him, who was eating voraciously and without any regard for appearances. Is this guy a reincarnation of a starving ghost? He'd never seen anyone eat like this before. However, since the other person had paid, Chu Tianhe approached with a smile, intending to politely shake hands. But seeing Bian Kai's greasy hands, he changed his mind and, with his hands behind his back, said, "Hello, I'm Chu Tianhe, the owner of this hotel. Are you enjoying the food here?" Upon hearing that the man was the owner, Bian Kai quickly swallowed the lobster in his mouth, nearly choking. Chu Tianhe, his face contorted, handed him a bowl of sea cucumber soup from the table. After drinking a whole bowl of sea cucumber soup, Bian Kai finally swallowed the lobster stuck in his throat. He patted his chest, let out a long breath, and then said, "Hello, you must be the owner of the Shuefu Hotel. As expected of a 4-star hotel, the food here is delicious. I'm very satisfied." Chu Tianhe, though his face was twitching, still smiled and said, "I'm glad you're satisfied. I came to thank you for treating the hotel staff to dinner. Even as the boss, I've never treated them to such a luxurious meal. We're truly fortunate to have you here. It's nothing. It would be a waste if I couldn't finish it, wouldn't it? They served me, so treating them to a meal is only right." Bian Kai waved his greasy hands dismissively. "Please don't say that. You pay for their service. In fact, you care about them more than I do, the boss. Anyone who didn't know better would think you were their boss." What was said casually took no offense. Chu Tianhe's comment, "Anyone who didn't know better would think you were their boss," suddenly struck Bian Kai like a thunderbolt, and he blurted out something that almost made Chu Tianhe choke. Mr. Chu, is your hotel for sale? I'm open to any price. I'd like to buy it." Chu Tianhe wondered if he'd misheard. What had he just heard? A guy who looked like just a student wanted to buy his hotel and was willing to name his price. Could this be a competitor deliberately trying to humiliate him? The more Chu Tianhe thought about it, the more likely it seemed. This guy was too strange. He ordered 100,000 yuan worth of food, ate only a little himself, and gave the rest to the staff. Wasn't this bribing the hotel staff? Or was he trying to poach his staff using this method? In an instant, Chu Tianhe's mind raced, conjuring up all sorts of possibilities, but none of them seemed positive. "Sir, please don't joke like that. We welcome you to dine here, but there's no need for you to use jokes to tease me. Chu Tian's expression turned grim. All the possibilities he'd considered pointed to one conclusion. This guy was here to cause trouble. No, Mr. Chu, I'm really not joking. I genuinely intend to buy your hotel. Is 500 million enough? If not, 1 billion, 2 billion will do. Bian Kai had finally found such a good way to spend money. How could he give it up so easily? He really just wanted to spend money to prolong his life. He had absolutely no intention of toying with Chu Tianha. Sir, I have no intention of selling the hotel. If you finish your meal, please leave. We still welcome you to dine here again next time. Chu Tianha's face had turned completely ugly. He was absolutely certain that this man was here to cause trouble. Oh, Mr. Chu, really, I'll pay any price. I just want to buy this hotel. Seeing that Chu Tianha was angry, Bian Kai still didn't give up. You may be angry, but my life is more important. Any price? Can I ask you for 5 billion? Chu Tianha was so angry, he almost laughed. This guy was insane. 5 billion is no problem. Give me your account number, and I'll transfer it to you right now. Bian Kai felt the deal was negotiable after hearing Chu Tianha's words. He was actually hoping Chu Tianha would ask for more money. Money meant nothing to him now. His life was the most important thing. Okay, if you can really transfer 5 billion, I'll sell the hotel to you. Chu Tianha was completely exasperated. This guy was like a persistent leech. If you're so capable, then really transfer 5 billion, Chu Tianha said, asking the manager on duty for paper and a pen. He then wrote down his bank account number on the paper. If he really had 5 billion, selling the hotel wouldn't be a problem. He wasn't even sure if he could earn 5 billion in his lifetime. The hotel's annual profit was less than 100 million. If he really earned 5 billion, he'd probably be in his grave years later. Bian Kai took the paper, pulled out his phone, opened his app, and started transferring money to Chu Tianha's account. Chu Tianha looked at the broken screen of Bian Kai's phone and couldn't help but sneer. What a pretentious show-off. So rich and still using a crappy phone? Just wait and see how you embarrass yourself. I'll find out what major you're in and tell your advisor about this. You're just waiting to be expelled, kid. You think I've been wasting my time at North China University? If you dare mess with me, you'll regret this. However, just as Chu Tianha was waiting for Bian Kai to make a fool of himself, his phone beeped. Chu Tianha took it out and his eyes widened in disbelief as he stared at the message on the screen. Your hiring account has received a transfer of 5 billion yuan. Balance 5,034,125,436.32 yuan. It really was 5 billion. Chu Tianha counted the zeros several times. Yes, it was 5 billion. This time, he dared not sneer, and his initial contempt vanished. He said somewhat awkwardly, you really intend to spend 5 billion to buy my hotel? Bian Kai put his phone back in his pocket, his face beaming with excitement. This money was well spent. After successfully transferring 5 billion, his lifespan on the system panel had increased to 51 days and 13 hours, and his skill points had reached 51. He wasn't so nervous anymore. A lifespan of over 50 days was enough for him to spend even more money. He really needed to thank this Mr. Chu. He was his savior. Of course it's true. I've already transferred the money to you. Thank you. Thank you so much for selling the hotel to me. Bian Kai even bowed to express his gratitude to Chu Tianha for saving his life. This startled Chu Tianha. Spending 5 billion to buy his hotel was clearly a losing proposition. Yet he was thanking him? Was there something fishy going on? But no, I received the money, and I'm certain I could never earn this much in my lifetime. So why is this person thanking me? Don't you know this gentleman's surname? My name is Bian Kai. All right, Mr. Chu, if there's nothing else, I'll be going now. Bian Kai was about to leave when Chu Tianha was stunned. Was this guy really an idiot? He paid and hadn't even taken the goods yet. So he quickly said, Mr. Bian Kai, aren't you going to sign a transfer contract? Bian Kai stopped in his tracks. He seemed to have gotten a little too excited. He'd already paid and forgotten to sign a contract. He'd overlooked something even a child would know. Mainly, suddenly gaining so much lifespan had made Bian Kai too excited. Excitement even lowers one's IQ. Ahem, Mr. Chu, I'm so sorry. I just suddenly remembered something. The contract definitely needs to be signed. Could you draft one for me? I'll take a look, and if it's okay, I'll sign it. Bian Kai said apologetically, genuinely sorry and a little embarrassed. He felt like a fool. Please wait a moment. I'll have my lawyer draft the transfer agreement right away. Chu Tianha made a phone call after saying that. Yes, Attorney Liu, draft the transfer agreement. The asking price is 5 billion. Please come over quickly. On the other end of the phone, Lu Xueqing confirmed several times that Chu Tianha was right. Someone was offering 5 billion to buy his Xuefu hotel, and the money had already been transferred. From a lawyer's perspective, wasn't this person a fool? Xuefu Hotel is indeed very profitable. She graduated from the law department of North China University and later became the hotel's legal counsel, so she knows the hotel very well. But even if it's profitable, it's not worth 5 billion. Could it be money laundering? But that's impossible. Money laundering doesn't happen this way, especially since this is a transparent transaction. Using this to launder money? Unless this person is out of their mind. Inconceivable, unbelievable, incomprehensible. But since the client insisted, Lu Xueqing had no choice but to pack her briefcase and head to North China University, completely bewildered the whole way. She's 28 years old this year. 5 years ago, she graduated from the law department of North China University, having passed the bar exam and obtained her lawyer's license before graduation. After graduation, she interned at a law firm for 2 years before starting her own firm with her former roommate. Although the firm wasn't large, it was a career. With her exceptional professional skills, she successfully won several major cases in the past 3 years, gradually building her reputation in the legal profession. Furthermore, she earned the title of Iron Lady of the Legal Circle for her sharp and decisive methods, and the firm gradually expanded. From just her and her roommate at the beginning, it has now grown into a large firm with 15 professional lawyers and over 30 legal assistants. Naturally, she personally handles matters for major clients like the Xuefu Hotel, as she can't let them waste the millions of yuan in legal fees they pay annually. Half an hour later, Lu Xueqing arrived at the Xuefu Hotel. Hey, Mr. Chu, I've arrived. Where are you? After parking her car, Lu Xueqing called Chu Tianha. She was incredibly curious about the person buying the hotel. Oh, Attorney Lu, you've arrived. Come straight to VIP room number 1. The buyer and I are here. Lu Xueqing hung up and quickly walked towards VIP room number 1. Knock, knock, knock. A knock sounded on the door. Chu Tianha, who was chatting with Bian Kai, casually said, come in. Lu Xueqing, dressed in a formal suit, pushed open the door and entered. Come in, Brother Bian. Let me introduce you. This is Attorney Lu from Qingtian Law Firm. Don't let her young age fool you. Her professional skills are top-notch. You can rest assured with her handling the transfer contract. Bian Kai looked Lu Xueqing up and down, and couldn't help but admire her. What a capable and stunningly beautiful woman. Although it was summer, Lu Xueqing was still dressed formally. She wore a burgundy blazer, clearly custom-made, its form-fitting design perfectly showcasing her beautiful curves. Underneath, she wore a snow-white V-neck blouse, the first button undone, just enough to conceal her exaggerated curves. A silver necklace adorned her neck, from which hung a diamond pendant that sparkled in the light, adding a touch of mystery to her fair, snow-white skin. Her burgundy pencil skirt, not very long, just covering half her thighs, also featured a form-fitting design that accentuated Lu Xueqing's striking lower body curves. Her waist was incredibly slender, without an ounce of excess fat, and she stood at least 1.7 meters tall. Her long, straight legs were exposed, and her fair skin was almost dazzling. What was most striking was his face. His oval face was framed by large, seemingly captivating eyes, a high nose bridge, a slightly pointed chin, and beautifully shaped, rosy lips. His long, coffee-colored hair was parted in the side part, with slightly curled ends. Bian Kai's eyes seemed fixed on him. He was too beautiful, even more so than Qian and I. That capable, confident air was something Qian and I absolutely lacked. Lu Shiueching was used to men's gazes, but the young man whom Boss Chu called little brother seemed to only show admiration in his eyes, lacking the barely concealed desire of other men. This gave her a very good impression of Bian Kai, perhaps because he was so young. Ahem. Attorney Lu, this young man is the one who wants to buy my hotel. Brother Bian, speaking of which, Attorney Lu is your senior, probably 5 years older than you. Chu Tianhe couldn't help but chuckle at Bian Kai's appearance. This young man was indeed wealthy, but he was still quite young. But then again, a woman like Lu Shiueching was practically every man's dream. If the old Chu were 30 years younger, he would definitely fall at her feet. Ah, hello, Attorney Lu, my name's Bian Kai. Thank you for your help this time. Bian Kai snapped out his reverie, realizing he had been a bit impolite, and quickly introduced himself. Hello, Mr. Bian, it's my duty. I'll draft the contract now. Please wait a moment, Mr. Chu. Lu Shiueching was now even more curious about Bian Kai. He was too young, at most 20 years old, yet he'd spent 5 billion to buy the Shuefu Hotel. As expected, he's likely a scion of a powerful family, but this young man doesn't seem very bright. Although handsome, his business acumen is truly lacking. 10 minutes later, Lu Shiueching finished editing the contract. There are ready-made templates for these transfer contracts. She only needed to make minor modifications and add some details. Gentlemen, the contract is ready. Please take a look. If there are no problems, you can print it out and sign it. Bian Kai and Chu Tianhe looked at the contract together. There wasn't much to see. Although the transaction involved a large sum of money, the procedure wasn't complicated. Okay, no problem. After reviewing the contract, both indicated they had no issues. Lu Shiueching then printed it out, and under her witness, Bian Kai and Chu Tianhe quickly signed it. Congratulations, Brother Bian. From now on, you're the owner of this hotel. You can handle the staff as you see fit. I'm finally free of worries. If you need anything in Zhongbei, feel free to contact me. I still have some influence there. Chu Tianhe held the contract in his hand, feeling quite pleased. That was 5 billion yuan, enough to support 3 generations of his family. Okay, Brother Chu, I'll definitely trouble you if I need anything in the future. Bian Kai said modestly. This man was a seasoned veteran. From their conversation, Bian Kai knew Chu Tianhe wasn't exaggerating. He genuinely had influence in Zhongbei. Alright, I'm leaving now. By the way, Attorney Lu, if you want to continue cooperating with Shuefu Hotel, then have a good talk with Brother Bian. Chu Tianhe said, then left the hotel, his 5 billion yuan disappearing to who knows where to enjoy himself. Boss Bian, what do you think of our cooperation? After Chu Tianhe left, Lu Shiueching took the initiative to inquire about the cooperation. Shuefu Hotel was a major client of hers, and she couldn't afford to lose it. Senior, please don't call me Boss Bian anymore, it sounds awkward. Just call me Junior. The cooperation will naturally continue. Besides, I have another idea. I wonder if you'd be interested? I wouldn't dare call you Junior. How about I call you President Bian? It doesn't sound very nice. What do you think, President Kai? What are your thoughts, President Kai? Bian Kai accepted Lu Shiueching's suggestion. Calling her General Manager Kai was better than General Manager Bian, as it seemed to evoke images of a certain male organ. Senior, what's the approximate annual income of your law firm? Would you mind telling me? There's no hiding it. My law firm is a medium-sized firm, and our annual income is around 50 to 70 million. What brings you to this question, General Manager Kai? Hearing this, Bian Kai felt much more at ease and said, since you're so frank, Senior, I won't beat around the bush either. I want to lease your law firm for 100 million a year, starting with 10 years. If the firm expands later, the fee can be increased. Bian Kai spoke calmly, but Lu Shiueching was startled and asked uncertainly, you mean you want to lease me? No, lease my entire law firm. Yes, Senior. If you think 100 million a year is enough, I can add more. 200 million a year is fine too. Bian Kai seemed to have suddenly grasped some kind of wisdom. His perspective broadened instantly. Indeed, what he lacked most right now was money. What he lacked was longevity. Not just 200 million, 500 million would do. The more, the better. Mr. Kai, are you sure you're not joking? My law firm may not be big, but it is quite a few people. I wonder how many businesses you have to manage. Lu Shiueching was now starting to doubt this junior's motives. Could he be interested in her? If that's true, this junior is really going all out. 100 million a year, that's $1 billion in 10 years. She's had countless men pursuing her over the years, including many very wealthy second-generation heirs, but none as generous as Bian Kai. However, as a career-driven woman, her priority is her career. She's only 28 and doesn't want to date so early, especially since she's never been in a relationship before. Therefore, Lu Shiueching needs to confirm with Bian Kai whether he really needs a law firm dedicated to serving him. Currently, we only have this one hotel, but I'll be investing in more businesses soon, so I'll need your strong support, Senior. Confirmed. Hearing Bian Kai's words, Lu Shiueching was absolutely certain that Bian Kai didn't want to buy her law firm, but rather her. It's just a hotel, although it's certainly valuable, but having a mid-sized law firm dedicated to serving this one hotel is just too extravagant. Mr. Kai, thank you for your kind offer. I would be happy if you hired our firm to continue as your legal counsel, but booking the entire firm is out of the question. Senior, are you doubting my abilities? How about this? You work with me today. I need your help anyway, and you can make your decision after today. Bian Kai exuded an aura of dominance as he spoke, his imposing presence actually intimidating the senior and beautiful lawyer, Lu Shiueching. Alright then, I'll work with you today, but let's make it clear beforehand. If I ultimately refuse to be your lawyer, you'll have to give me a contract as a legal counsel. Lu Shiueching had already prepared a backup plan, as long as Bian Kai agreed to at least give her a legal counsel contract. Working with him for a day wouldn't be a loss. Okay, no problem. It's settled then, Senior. After agreeing on the terms, the two left VIP room number 1. At Lu Shiueching's suggestion, Bian Kai first convened a meeting with everyone in the hotel. However, he studied physics and knew nothing about business management. Lu Shiueching handled almost the entire meeting process for him. Apart from the manager on duty, everyone else at the Shuefu Hotel was suddenly summoned without their knowledge. Only after arriving at the conference room did they discover that the boss had changed within a single day. But the new boss is too young. Could he be Chu Tianhe's illegitimate son? That's impossible. Old Chu is notoriously henpecked and wouldn't dare mess around outside. It wasn't until Lu Shiueching produced the share transfer agreement that everyone finally confirmed the Shuefu Hotel had indeed changed owners. At Lu Shiueching's suggestion, Bian Kai issued several orders. As the saying goes, a new broom sweeps clean, and he had to make a show of things. First, he commissioned Qing Tian Law Firm to conduct a comprehensive internal audit of the entire Shuefu Hotel. The firm had full authority and could even hire external auditors to assist with the cost borne by Bian Kai. Second, the firm would report the audit results to Bian Kai, who would then make the final decision. Of course, that's what he said, but Bian Kai genuinely didn't understand these things, and he would probably have to consider Lu Shiueching's advice after the results were released. In reality, it was quite simple. Those with shady dealings and problems would be fired. Those with ability and hard work would be promoted and given raises. Ultimately, everyone who stayed got their salaries tripled. Actually, Lu Shiueching meant a 30% increase, but she didn't want to say it directly in front of the company employees. So she secretly gestured 3 fingers to Bian Kai, but he misunderstood and blurted out 3 times. This stunned not only the employees, but also Lu Shiueching herself. Was this CEO Kai's comprehension really that good? Who raised his salaries several times over? At this rate, the hotel will definitely lose money. She was extremely anxious, but everyone else, including Bian Kai himself, was overjoyed. The employees were in an uproar. The Shuefu Hotel salaries were already higher than the industry average, and now the new boss had tripled them. Could there be a better job? As for Bian Kai, his resolve to take over Lu Shiueching's law firm was growing stronger. This senior colleague really understood him. She knew he needed money and reminded him to raise employee salaries. Okay, from now on, we'll use this method when buying companies. Bian Kai isn't afraid of losing money. The more money he loses, the more he subsidizes, and the more he subsidizes, the longer he lives. This is a long-term business. We must maintain this fine tradition. At this point, Lu Xueqing was anxious but helpless. As the saying goes, a ruler's word is law. Although Bian Kai wasn't a ruler, he was still the owner of this hotel. And how could he go back on his word in front of all the employees? However, before Lu Xueqing could recover, Bian Kai dealt her another blow. Bian Kai announced that from now on, the company's meals would follow the standard he set this morning, with 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all you could eat. The only requirement was no waste and no taking food home. Anyone found violating this rule would have all their meals canceled and would have to eat out. This really stunned Lu Xueqing. This Mr. Kai really didn't value money. With this kind of management, the hotel would be lucky to break even, let alone make a profit. With all sorts of perks poured in, the effect was immediate, and everyone was cheering. President Kai, President Kai, President Kai. Bian Kai looked at the cheering crowd below, and he was also very happy. In a sense, these people were his saviors. Looking at the indignant crowd below, Lu Xueqing instantly sensed that CEO Kai was not as simple as he appeared. He was incredibly adept at winning people over. She believed these people would be devoted to Bian Kai, for a simple reason. Bian Kai offered too much. In reality, even if employee wages tripled and food costs increased, would the hotel really lose money? Not necessarily. Perhaps the hotel's profits would decrease, but it wouldn't necessarily lose money. While Bian Kai's actions reduced profits, they gained a group of employees who genuinely worked for him. With these employees' efforts, would the hotel's future profits really decline? Probably not. Thinking this, Lu Xueqing's gaze towards Bian Kai changed. He wasn't stupid. It's just that his vision was beyond the comprehension of most. Bian Kai seemed to sense Lu Xueqing's changed gaze, turned back, and smiled slightly at her. In that instant, in Lu Xueqing's eyes, this seemingly ordinary man's charisma seemed magnified. Just what kind of person was he? This was the question in Lu Xueqing's mind. The Shuefu Hotel was indeed huge. Bian Kai and Lu Xueqing spent the entire morning resolving most of the issues. There were some procedural changes, which Lu Xueqing handled directly with other staff from her law firm. Bian Kai would only need to sign on his phone. Bian Kai transferred another 2 billion yuan to a dedicated hotel account for future operations. However, this money was essentially just money moving between his own pockets, so the system didn't classify it as a consumption transaction. Bian Kai didn't care because he had found a bug in the system. He specifically instructed the hotel's finance department that all incoming funds should be transferred to his high-end bank account. The company's daily operating expenses were not allowed to be deducted from operating revenue. All funds would be deducted from the money he transferred to the company. If he needed more, he would transfer more to this account. Bian Kai named this dedicated consumption account the Triumphant account. The implication was that Bian Kai would triumph triumphantly on his path of spending money, unstoppable. Bian Kai even tested it out, and the method did indeed work. The system verified the spending was valid, and finding this bug thrilled him. A hotel like the Shuefu Hotel, including staff salaries, material consumption, and other expenses, cost around 500 million yuan a year. After Bian Kai increased employee benefits, this cost rose to 600 million yuan. In other words, as long as the hotel is open, it can help Bian Kai spend 600 million yuan annually. Although it's not a huge amount, if there are 50 such hotels, wouldn't that cover its lifespan? As for the money in his personal Haixing account, he could just leave it there. He has more money than he can spend in his black card. Why would he need to spend it in Haixing? At noon, Bian Kai took Lu Xueqing to a lavish meal at the hotel. The expenses naturally paid through the Kaixin account. As the two were eating, Bian Kai's phone rang. He glanced at it and saw it was an unfamiliar number. Hello, who is this? Hello, is this Mr. Bian Kai? I'm Yang Ying, the president's secretary at the fraud platform. This is Bian Kai. Fraud platform? What can I do for you? Mr. Bian Kai, you spent 100 million on our platform last night, making you our most valued customer. The company president has arranged for me to connect with you to see what your needs are, and the platform will try its best to meet them. Only 100 million in your VIP? Your VIP threshold isn't that high. Hey, Mr. Bian, you're joking. 100 million isn't just for our platform. It makes you a VIP on any platform. Oh, I see. Speaking of which, I do have a need. Your recharge limit is too low. I spent ages trying to get that 100 million last night, and the most expensive gift is only 20,000 yuan. I practically tapped my fingers until they were numb, trying to send that 100 million. Yang Ying had originally thought Bian Kai would mention something like a special title or customized entrance effects, but it turned out he was complaining about the platform's low limit and cheap gifts. What, huh? Can you adjust that? If not, I'm not going. It's too tiring. Bian Kai's focus is no longer on live streaming. He was exhausted last night just to gain a day's worth of lifespan, but buying hotels is so fast. 5 billion was gone in a single morning. Mr. Bian, please wait a moment. 5 minutes, no. 3 minutes, I'll get back to you right away. Upon hearing that Bian Kai might not be coming anymore, Yang Ying panicked immediately and had to report to President Dai. When Dai Tianlu heard this, he realized this wasn't just any ordinary tycoon. This was an absolute super rich. Just opening a limit? Open it. Absolutely open it. According to the maximum limit required by the anti-money laundering system, directly open it to 10 million. The gift is too cheap? Then have the design department design a $1 million gift for Bian Kai, with spectacular special effects and exclusive background music. Upon receiving the reply, Yang Ying immediately called Bian Kai back. Hearing that the Wawa platform was so cooperative, Bian Kai put gift-giving back on his daily spending list. While eating, Lu Xueqing listened to Bian Kai's conversation with the fraud platform. She had seen the news that morning. Mysterious tycoon spends 100 million yuan on beautiful streamer. The related topic was ranked in the top 5 on various entertainment trending lists, extremely popular. It was said that the female streamer was even dubbed the woman every man in the world wants. The reason was simple, a woman that even a tycoon couldn't get with 100 million yuan had been obtained by them, a matter of great pride. However, Lu Xueqing hadn't expected that the key figure in this incident, the mysterious tycoon, was none other than Bian Kai. For some reason, she felt a strange pang of jealousy. Mr. Kai, that female streamer must be very beautiful, right? Lu Xueqing asked seemingly casually after Bian Kai finished his call. Huh, what female streamer? Bian Kai was confused by the question. What female streamer? So, you're that mysterious tycoon on Frog, right? You spent 100 million on a female streamer last night, and you've already forgotten? Oh, you mean last night? I just clicked on it because my fingers were itchy. It had nothing to do with the streamer. Even if she were ugly, I would still have spent money. Besides, I don't even know what that woman looks like. Bian Kai genuinely didn't know what Pei Chu she would look like. He might have had a slight impression last night, but he'd completely forgotten. He was busy topping up his account and spending money on gifts. He didn't have time to watch any streamers. After spending all his money, he was exhausted and went straight to sleep. Itchy fingers? Didn't watch the streamer? Lu Xueqing's pretty face twitched slightly upon hearing this. Based on her current understanding of Bian Kai, the truth was probably just like that. He really did spend money purely because his fingers were itchy. Those news reports were completely baseless speculation. For some reason, Lu Xueqing felt a sense of relief after learning the truth. Mr. Kai, what are your plans for this afternoon? Since she had decided to go with Bian Kai today, Lu Xueqing naturally wanted to know where they were going. Let's buy a phone first. Look at how broken my phone is. Let's go to Xinguang Digital City. They have a pretty complete selection of models there. Buy a phone? After all that, it turns out Kai just wanted her to go with him to buy a phone. Isn't that something usually done alone or with a girlfriend? Thinking this, Lu Xueqing's pretty face inexplicably flushed. Did this handsome young man really want to pursue her? But the age difference was quite significant. Bian Kai seemed to possess a kind of magic. Even a career woman like Lu Xueqing was unconsciously influenced by him. Senior, what are you thinking about? Let's go. I don't have a car, so you can ride with me. Bian Kai looked at the dazed Lu Xueqing, somewhat puzzled. Huh? Oh, let's go. Where are we going again? Oh, right to Xinguang Digital City. Startled from her thoughts, Lu Xueqing hurriedly pulled a Bentley car, key from her bag, and led the way to the parking lot. Lu Xueqing's car was a Bentley Flying Spur worth over 4 million yuan. Although it wasn't among the top-tier luxury cars, being able to afford such a car after only 5 years of working meant either her family was wealthy, or she had earned it herself. Bian Kai was more inclined to believe that his senior had bought the car with her own money. After all, the title of strong woman wasn't given lightly. He didn't stand on ceremony and directly opened the passenger door and got in. Actually, Lu Xueqing wanted him to sit in the back. Besides her family and best friends, no one else had ever sat in the passenger seat. However, since Bian Kai was already inside, she couldn't very well ask him to leave, so she opened the driver's side door. As soon as Bian Kai got into the car, he was greeted by a pleasant fragrance, exactly the same as his senior's scent, a delicate, non-irritating, and very pleasant aroma. After driving for about 20 minutes, they finally arrived at Xinguang Digital Mall, the largest digital mall in Zhongbei City. Here, you can buy any electronic product you want, computers, mobile phones, tablets, etc. from all brands. There are also places specializing in selling accessories and repairing electronic products. The entire Xinguang Digital City has 4 floors, covering an area of approximately 100,000 square meters, with over 300 shops, ranking among the top 3 in the entire Jiangnan province. Moreover, the digital city boasts an excellent location, situated in the heart of Zhongbei City, not far from Zhongbei Square, the city's largest square. The square displays the symbol of Zhongbei City, the logo of Zhongbei TV. Residential properties in this area sell for over 30,000 yuan per square meter, while commercial properties reach over 50,000 yuan per square meter. Such high housing prices are rare in a third-tier city like Zhongbei, and nearly half of the residential properties here were developed by Minghui's family. The glaring advertisements for the buy group on the buildings were so irritating to Bian Kai. He would never forget what happened last night. However, he didn't yet possess the strength to contend with a super conglomerate like the buy group. He could only proceed slowly, like a venomous snake, quietly lying in wait, ready to deliver a fatal blow when the time was right. At this moment, Bian Kai's expression turned somewhat grim. Lu Xueqing followed his gaze and saw an advertisement for the buy group. This puzzled her. Did this CEO Kai have some connection with the buy group? And, judging from the looks of it, their relationship wasn't very good. Never mind, the affairs of powerful figures were beyond her reach. Neither the massive buy group nor the mysterious Bian Kai were things she could fathom. The two took the elevator from the underground parking lot to the 3rd floor of the Starlight Digital City. The entire 3rd floor was dedicated to selling mobile phones, with dozens of brands, and over a dozen mobile phone repair shops of varying sizes. After getting off the elevator, the grim expression on Bian Kai's face had vanished. He understood. Although he currently had unlimited funds, his foundation was too shallow. He was no match for the buy group. Rather than living in hatred every day, it's better to keep this hatred hidden in your heart, let it fester, and deliver a fatal blow when you're able to rival the buy family. Mr. Kai, what kind of phone do you need? I know a bit about phones. I can introduce some to you. Seeing that Bian Kai's complexion had returned to normal, Lu Xueqing breathed a sigh of relief. His appearance earlier had indeed been a bit frightening. Let me think. I don't really have any requirements, just fast performance and plenty of memory. I'm not that demanding about a phone. In that case, I recommend the iPhone 15, 512 gigabytes. It runs very fast, and the memory is sufficient, but it's more expensive than other similar models, around 13,000 yuan. 13,000 yuan? That's a bit expensive. Bian Kai genuinely thought it was expensive. His current phone cost less than 1,000 yuan. He only bought it to easily contact Qian and I. Otherwise, he wouldn't have bought a phone at all. That's indeed much more expensive than your current one, Mr. Kai. How about I buy one for you? Seeing Bian Kai's somewhat hesitant expression, Lu Xueqing assumed he was reluctant to spend the money. Although it felt strange, it seemed that billionaires often had some quirks. So she decided to buy it for Bian Kai. 13,000 yuan was nothing to her. Senior, thank you for your kindness, but I'm afraid you can't afford to buy what I want. Do you know the owner of this electronics mall? I'd like to talk to him. Bian Kai looked at Lu Xueqing seriously and said, talk to the owner? What? Lu Xueqing was a little confused by Bian Kai's question. She had a vague idea in her mind, but it seemed a bit too far-fetched. I want to buy this electronics mall. Gah. Lu Xueqing's mouth gaped open in shock at Bian Kai's answer, her small, pink tongue practically visible. Mr. Kai, are you sure you're not joking? This digital mall is nothing like the Xuefu Hotel, and the owner is Ho Qianyue, the second young master of the renowned Ho family in Shanghai. The Ho family is a conglomerate with assets in the hundreds of billions. It said this digital mall was specifically given to Ho Qianyue by the Ho family for his training, with him responsible for all profits and losses. Bian Kai, however, didn't seem to care. Hundreds of billions? Even trillions or billions were still finite numbers. His funds were limitless. So you know the owner of this digital mall? Do me a favor, senior, and arrange a meeting. Bian Kai hadn't expected Lu Xueqing to actually know the owner. This saved him a lot of trouble. Lu Xueqing carefully sized up Bian Kai. This junior, dressed in cheap clothes, seemed genuinely serious. She then said, I've only heard of Ho Qianyue, never met him. But my business partner, who is also my college roommate, knows him. Mr. Kai, if you really want to find Ho Qianyue, I can contact my roommate. Okay, go ahead and contact him. Lu Xueqing took out her phone from her bag and started making a call. Hey, Xiu, where are you? A glamorous woman, about 175 centimeters tall, with long legs, a slim waist, a stunning figure, and alluring looks, wearing a silk nightgown, answered languidly on the other end of the line. I'm taking a nap at home. What's up, Ching? I need your help with something. You should know Ho Qianyue, right? I remember you mentioning him. Young Master Ho, oh, I know him. What's wrong, Ching? You've fallen for him? That's rare. Even our strong woman has moments of romantic longing. If a man heard that voice on the other end of the phone, he'd probably melt. You little brat. You dare talk back to me like that? You act like you had a crush on someone, always acting all horny. But I've never seen you actually bring a boyfriend home. We're both single women. Let's not even call ourselves the second sister. Tisich, I can get one anytime I want. Ching, you're so unlovable. All right, stop being so horny. I'm serious. If you really want to know Ho Qianyue, just ask him out. Someone wants to talk to him. Hey, Ching, do you think it's that easy to ask young Master Ho out? You have to tell me what it's about. Otherwise, how am I supposed to tell him? Just tell him someone wants to buy his electronics mall and wants to meet up to talk about it. They're serious about buying it. What? The electronics mall? The one next to Zhongbei Square. The previously languid voice on the other end of the phone immediately rose 8 octaves, the high-pitched tone almost piercing Lu Xueqing's ears. Yes, it's that electronics mall. Someone wants to buy it. This person is very powerful. Could you help me ask Ho Qianyue? Let's try to see if it works out. Damn, that electronics mall is worth at least tens of billions. Ching, when did you meet such a powerful person? I've never heard you mention him before. Are you planning to secretly keep it for yourself? Sure, Xio, be serious. I'm not joking. I just met this person today. He's our junior from school. This morning he bought the Xuefu Hotel for 5 billion. Xuefu Hotel? 5 billion? Is this guy an idiot? All right, don't worry about that. Hurry up and make an appointment with Ho Qianyue. Okay, I got it. I'll call right now. Inside a tea house in Zhongbei City, Ho Qianyue and Ho Baiyue sat facing each other. Ho Qianyue looked worried, while Ho Baiyue's eyebrows were raised in amusement. What's wrong, brother? You're already in this situation. What are you being so dramatic about? If you don't find a way to make up for your losses, the old man won't let you off the hook. Ho Baiyue, don't push your luck. My huge digital mall, located in the heart of Zhongbei, and you only want to buy it for 7 billion. Sigh, brother, that's not right. I'm trying to help you. Go ask around. Who can come up with 7 billion to buy your digital mall in a third-tier city? Besides, 7 billion would just cover your losses, wouldn't it? That way you can give the old man an explanation. After all, we're all from the Ho family, so it doesn't matter who owns the digital mall, right? Ho Baiwe seemed to have figured out his brother Ho Qianyue's weakness, insisting on buying the multi-billion-dollar digital mall for 7 billion. Ho Qianyue is now in a dilemma. Although his older brother, Ho Baiwe, took advantage of the situation, he has no other choice at this point. They are half-brothers. Ho Baiyue's mother was the first wife of Ho Mingda, the head of the Ho family, but she died in childbirth while giving birth to Ho Baiwe. Later, Ho Mingda married Ho Qianyue's mother, and they had a son and a daughter. The Ho family's vast fortune, worth hundreds of billions, needs an heir. Therefore, to test his two sons, Ho Mingda gave each of them 10 billion yuan, agreeing to a 5-year period. After 5 years, the one who earns more will be chosen as the family heir and groomed, while the other will lose their eligibility to compete for the family headship. After receiving the funds, the two brothers chose different paths. Ho Baiwe invested the money in traditional industries, such as transportation, mining, and logistics. Leveraging the Ho family's reputation, he made his businesses thrive, achieving considerable success in various fields. Ho Qianyue first invested in real estate, buying a plot of land in Zhongbei City and building Xinguang Digital City, which, thanks to its prime location, also made a fortune. Afterwards, he invested in mobile phone research and development, but unexpectedly, he became completely engrossed and could never get out. As a high-tech product, the initial research and development costs for mobile phones are practically a bottomless pit. The development of chips alone caused Ho Qianyue immense distress. He hired top engineers from both domestic and international companies at high salaries, investing over 10 billion yuan over 3 years, yet still saw little progress. Finally, with no other option, he had to purchase chips from abroad, temporarily abandoning independent research and development. However, by this time, the entire mobile phone market had been largely dominated by major brands like Apple, Huawei, and Samsung. The only way for Ho Qianyue to gain a share of the market from these major brands was to improve the phone specifications, but this presented another problem. Increased specifications led to higher manufacturing costs, resulting in Ho Qianyue's phones being priced extremely high, even comparable to Apple's. But at the same price, people would naturally prefer the established and tried and tested Apple, leading to Ho Qianyue's phones having virtually no market. Therefore, in the following years, he not only lost all his initial profits, but also lost 7 billion yuan of his initial 10 billion yuan investment. This is why Ho Qianyue insisted on spending 7 billion yuan to purchase Xinguang Digital City. With less than a month left until the 5-year deadline, if Ho Qianyue were to withdraw from the mobile phone business and sell the digital mall, he could at least recover his initial investment of 10 billion yuan, or at most break even for the next few years. Although he would lose his eligibility to compete for the position of family head, he could still live a life of a wealthy second-generation heir within the Ho family. However, if he didn't sell the digital mall, his fund would only amount to 3 billion yuan. The performance evaluation criteria Ho Mingda set for the two of them was based solely on the amount of cash they held, excluding fixed assets. If Ho Qianyue's final evaluation result was a loss of 7 billion yuan, he would be exiled to another region, receiving only tens of thousands of yuan a month from the family for living expenses. Without any extraordinary circumstances, that would be his fate. If he broke even, it would prove he still had the ability to manage the family business. While he wouldn't become the family head, he could still control a portion of the family assets, preventing him from ending up destitute and living a life of idleness in another region. Ho Baiwe precisely exploited this weakness of Ho Qianyue's, which is why he offered to acquire Ho Qianyue's digital mall for 7 billion yuan. Just as Ho Qianyue was getting increasingly agitated, the phone rang. He picked it up and saw it was an unfamiliar number. Hello, who is it? Oh, Mr. Ho, you have quite the temper. You scared me. This is Shi Xiao. I wonder if you remember me. Oh, Attorney Shi? Yes, what can I do for you? The two had met at a high-end party in Zhongbei City. Shi Xiao's stunning beauty overshadowed all the ladies present. As the second son of the Ho family, Ho Qianyue was naturally the most distinguished person at the party, and the two danced together amidst the cheers of the crowd. They exchanged contact information afterward, but at that time, Ho Qianyue was in a very difficult situation. Although Attorney Shi was beautiful, her career was more important than that, and Shi Xiao wasn't the type to actively pursue him, so the two never contacted each other again after that party. Later, when Ho Qianyue lost his temper, he smashed his old phone, and Shi Xiao's contact information was lost along with it. Young Master Ho, I didn't expect you to not have her contact information. She's very sad. Are you sure you want something or not? If not, I'm hanging up. This woman's got a problem. I'm already annoyed. Why is she acting all cutesy with me? Shi Xiao hadn't expected Ho Qianyue to have such a temper. Judging from his tone, he didn't seem to be in a good mood. She cursed her bad luck inwardly and quickly dropped her flirtatious manner, saying in a normal tone, "It's like this, Mr. Ho. Someone wants to buy your electronics mall and would like to talk to you. I wonder if it's convenient for you, Mr. Ho." Ho Qianyue stood up abruptly upon hearing this, but after glancing at his brother Ho Baiwe, he suppressed the excitement he was about to display. Really? I'll come over right now. Ho Qianyue's attitude completely baffled Shi Xiao. He clearly seemed eager to sell the electronics mall. What on earth was going on today? Shi Xiao felt her worldview was crumbling. First, Qingqing called to say a junior wanted to buy that massive electronics mall. Then Ho Qianyue was also in a hurry to sell it. Were they conspiring to mess with me? But that couldn't be. She was just a small-time lawyer. Although she was somewhat attractive, those two big shots wouldn't possibly scheme against her. The only explanation was that it was a coincidence. One wanted to buy, the other wanted to sell, and she was just the middleman. After Ho Qianyue hung up the phone, he left in a hurry. Ho Baiwe didn't care. He was confident that there were very few people besides him capable of acquiring that electronics mall, unless the older generation intervened, but that was impossible. The older generation knew about the rivalry between the two brothers and certainly wouldn't interfere. While there are some younger talents who can rival his abilities, they're simply beneath the notice of people in a third-tier city's electronics market. Therefore, his younger brother will eventually have to return to him or face exile from the family. After Ho Qianyue left, Ho Baiwe also rushed back to Shanghai. He had many matters to attend to there and didn't have time to waste in this small city of Zhongbei. Meanwhile, Shi Xiao ended her call with Ho Qianyue and then called Lu Shiweqing. "Hey, Qingqing, I've taken care of what you asked me to do. Young Master Ho is on his way. How are you going to thank me? Really? You've got some serious connections. How can I thank you? How about our junior treats you to a meal? Hey, you know what? I'm actually quite curious about this junior. You guys are at the electronics mall right now, right? I'll come over and see who this junior is. Okay, come on over. We're at the electronics mall." After hanging up, Lu Shiweqing told Bian Kai that Ho Qianyue was on his way. Bian Kai was also surprised. It seems this other senior has quite the charm. The two then strolled around the electronics mall. Neither of them were electronics enthusiasts, so they didn't study electronic products much, just browsing casually. 20 minutes later, Shi Xiao arrived at the electronics mall first. "Hey, Qingqing, which floor are you on?" "4th floor, right? I'll come up as soon as I get here." 2 minutes later, a tall, fair-skinned woman with an innate allure stood before Bian Kai and his companion. "Mr. Kai, this is the roommate I told you about, Shi Xiao. She's your senior. Actually, we co-own Qingtian Law Firm, and you need her to handle the leasing of our office." Bian Kai was stunned by the senior's beauty. She was almost as beautiful as Lu Shiweqing, but while Lu Shiweqing possessed a capable air, Shi Xiao exuded seduction. Shi Xiao also sized up her junior. He was quite handsome, but his clothes didn't suggest he was a multimillionaire. However, Qingqing wouldn't lie to her, which meant he was low-key, a hidden tycoon. "Hello, Mr. Kai. It's a pleasure to meet you." Shi Xiao extended her right hand, her fingers long and slender, like delicate scallions. Bian Kai didn't stand on ceremony and immediately shook her hand. The soft, smooth touch made him slightly aroused. Fortunately, he wasn't a lecher. He released her hand after a brief squeeze, which surprised Shurinkyo. This junior seemed quite extraordinary. The momentary daze Bian Kai showed when she first appeared proved that his good looks had indeed caught her attention, but he quickly regained his composure. Even his handshake was fleeting. After chatting for about 10 minutes, Ho Chinwe finally arrived in a flurry. Hey, Attorney Sure, where are you? Okay, my office is on the 4th floor too. Let's talk in my office. Led by staff member, Bian Kai and the other two arrived at Ho Chinwe's office. The office wasn't large, only about 50 square meters, and the decorations were simple. When they entered, Ho Chinwe was sitting anxiously in his office chair, waiting. Attorney Sure, you're here. Is this the owner who's planning to buy my electronics mall? She's really beautiful. Ho Chinwe asked, pointing at Lu Shiweching. He automatically ignored Bian Kai. Dressed like that, he figured the person was either a driver or an assistant. He recognized Shuri Xio, so the only other potential buyer of his electronics mall was this beautiful woman. Ahem, Mr. Ho, you've misunderstood. I'm Xiao's business partner. It's not me who wants to buy your electronics mall. It's this Mr. Kai who wants to buy it. Lu Shiweching quickly explained, pointing to Bian Kai beside her. Ho Chinwe was dumbfounded. This was incredibly embarrassing. He'd mistaken someone for someone else. But it wasn't entirely his fault. What kind of billionaire dressed like this? This was almost too understated. My apologies, my apologies. Please forgive me, Mr. Kai. To cover his embarrassment, Ho Chinwe quickly extended his hand. Bian Kai, holding Ho Chinwe's hand, said it was alright, while sizing up the owner of the digital mall. He seemed quite different from what he had imagined. In his mind, as the owner of a digital mall and a scion of a powerful family, Ho Chinwe would undoubtedly be an arrogant and domineering figure. But what was going on with this haggard, exhausted-looking man? Was this really the owner of the digital mall? Seemingly noticing the doubt in Bian Kai's eyes, Ho Chinwe didn't rush to explain. After inviting everyone to sit down, he personally brewed a pot of tea. Mr. Kai, may I ask your full name? Oh, my oversight. My full name is Bian Kai. Bian Kai. Ho Chinwe searched his memory for any wealthy or powerful families he knew, but there was no one with the surname Bian. Could it be a reclusive family? But that didn't make sense. Reclusive families had disappeared over a century ago. Some speculated that these so-called reclusive families never existed or had completely vanished. Suddenly, Bian Kai's identity became mysterious in Ho Chinwe's eyes. But if it could solve his current problem, mystery was fine. There were plenty of strange things in the world. What does Mr. Kai think of my digital mall? Ho Chinwe handed Bian Kai a cup of tea, asking seemingly casually. Bian Kai took the tea and replied, I just took a quick look around. It's quite nice. The location is excellent. Mr. Ho has good taste. Mr. Kai, you flatter me. I only knew a little bit of information beforehand. May I ask what Mr. Kai plans to do with the digital mall after buying it? What to do with it? Bian Kai hadn't really thought about that. Isn't it just a digital mall? He could just keep doing it. Besides, he didn't really buy the digital mall to make money. He just wanted to spend money to save his life. It shouldn't change its purpose. It will still be operated as a digital mall. Ho Chinwe breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing Bian Kai's answer. The digital mall was his life's work. Although he was forced to sell it now, he would still feel heartbroken to destroy it for something else. Then, Mr. Kai, I won't beat around the bush. How much do you plan to spend on this digital mall? Bian Kai was taken aback. He thought it would be complicated. The other party's digital mall was thriving and making good profits. Why would they sell it so easily? Unexpectedly, this young master Ho directly asked about the price, clearly indicating there was a chance. This was somewhat unexpected for Bian Kai. When money was mentioned, Bian Kai was wide awake. He might not have much else, but money was more than he could handle, and the more he spent, the longer he would live. Young Master Ho, the digital mall has an excellent location, with numerous shops and high foot traffic. How about 30 billion? The other three people spat out the tea they had just drunk, and because they were all intently listening to Bian Kai, their faces were all turned towards him. What are you doing? Bian Kai wiped the tea from his face. He was also stunned. It was just a price quote. Why were they so surprised? Two beautiful women spraying tea at him was tolerable for Bian Kai, but Ho Chinwe spraying him too? It's fucking disgusting. Mr. Kai, Shao. The three women panicked at Bian Kai's disheveled state, frantically searching for tissues to wipe him down. Lu Shiweching wiped his face, Ho Chinwe wiped his upper body, and Shuri Xio, having nowhere else to wipe, was about to reach for Bian Kai's lower body. In her panic, she hadn't realized she was wiping in an inappropriate spot. This was unacceptable. Just as Shuri Xio's hand was about to touch his core business, Bian Kai jolted to his feet. The three women's actions came to an abrupt halt. That was close. That was close. If the devilish Shuri Xio had actually touched his core business, Bian Kai couldn't guarantee he wouldn't have immediately rebelled. Everyone, no need to wipe it. A little water will cool you down in the summer heat. Let's get down to business. The three of them sat down again, somewhat embarrassed, especially Shuri Xio, whose pretty face flushed red. She suddenly became a docile girl, sitting on the sofa with her head down, saying nothing. Only now did she realize that she had almost uncovered Bian Kai's core business, and she felt incredibly awkward. Mr. Kai, you just said you want to spend 30 billion to buy my digital mall. Ho Chinwe even changed his form of address, mainly because he was genuinely shocked by the price Bian Kai proposed. Even if a digital mall had a good location and high foot traffic, it was still just a third-tier city like Zhongbei City. 30 billion? That amount was enough to buy a digital mall of the same size in a first-tier city like Shanghai or Beijing. Lu Shiweching also looked at Bian Kai speechlessly. This junior was indeed a bit of a blockhead. No, a complete blockhead. This digital mall was worth at most 10 billion, yet they quoted 30 billion, without even doing basic market research. Now she finally understood where the 5 billion for the Shuefu hotel came from. It was purely this junior's wild guess, and the worst part was he didn't just quote a low price, he quoted an inflated one. Bian Kai actually wanted to quote 50 billion directly, but even he felt that price was a bit excessive, so he lowered it slightly and quoted 30 billion. But he still got a lot of flack for it. Hearing Ho Chinwe's question, he casually replied, yes, 30 billion. Young Master Ho, do you think that price is reasonable? If so, let's sign a contract and transfer the money now. Wait a minute, Mr. Kai. Let me catch my breath. Phew. Ho Chinwe sat down in his chair, closed his eyes, let out a long sigh, then opened his eyes and looked at Bian Kai very seriously, saying, Mr. Kai, I'll confirm with you one last time. You really want to spend 30 billion to buy my digital mall? Really? Otherwise, what am I sitting here for? If you think the price is reasonable, let's sign a contract and transfer the money right now. I, Bian Kai, am absolutely honest and fair in business. Lu Shiweching's lips twitched involuntarily upon hearing Bian Kai's words. This is an honest and fair. It's practically benevolent charity. You should make room for that giant Buddha statue on Beijing Mountain. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Mr. Kai, you have such great taste. Just 30 billion, and we can sign a contract right now. Ho Chinwe rubbed his hands excitedly, overjoyed. He looked at Bian Kai like he was looking at his own father. Okay, senior, draft the contract. Hey, senior, what are you thinking about? Lu Shiweching hadn't recovered from her shock when she heard Bian Kai call her, and she quickly snapped back to reality. Contract? Huh? How we get to the contract stage so quickly? What just happened? Didn't they even discuss it? This deal is damn quick. Yeah, senior, hurry up and draft the contract. After I transfer the money, this digital mall will be mine. Actually, what Bian Kai really wanted was for the contract to be signed quickly so he could pay. After paying, he could gain 300 more days of lifespan. Just thinking about it made him excited. If Ho Chinwe weren't a grown man, Bian Kai would have loved to hug and kiss him. Although Lu Xueqing was helpless, she could only obediently draft the contract. The two big shots had already discussed it. No, discussed it what? It was just Bian Kai throwing money around. The contract was quickly completed. Ho Qianwei reviewed it repeatedly, and after confirming it was 30 billion, he eagerly signed his name. He even considered imitating the ancients by biting his finger to leave his fingerprint, but Lu Xueqing stopped him, handing him an ink pad. She was utterly speechless. Couldn't they all be a little normal? The contract was handed to Bian Kai, who didn't even look at it before signing his name. Young Master Ho, here's the bank account number. I'll transfer the money to you right away. Bian Kai was practically impatient now. Once the transfer was complete, his lifespan would be extended by over 350 days. That's a year's worth of life left. Huh. Oh, this is my bank account number. Hearing Bian Kai's words, Ho Qianwei hurriedly grabbed a piece of white paper and wrote down his account number. Bian Kai took the paper and pulled out his phone with a cracked screen, leaving Ho Qianwei and Shou stunned. This guy is the kind of tycoon who casually spends 30 billion on a digital mall. Why is he using such a broken phone? Isn't this being a bit too low-key? Bian Kai didn't care about anything else at this moment. He opened his personal software, entered Ho Qianwei's account information, and directly entered 30 billion in the transfer amount field. That long string of zeros was dizzying to look at. Transfer successful. Ding. Ho Qianwei's phone received a message. Your Haiying account has received a transfer of 300 million yuan. Account balance 330, 215, 321, 45 yuan. Ho Qianwei's hand holding the phone began to tremble. It really was 30 billion. Haha, Boss Kai really transferred 30 billion to him. Boss Kai, I love you so much. Young Master Ho, I love you so much. Young Master Ho shouted, opening his arms to hug Bian Kai, while Bian Kai shouted back and hugged Ho Qianwei. Bian Kai was truly happy. Now, on his attribute panel, his lifespan had changed to 351 days. The hours had disappeared. It's probably because the lifespan is too long that there's no need to list such a small unit as an hour separately. While the lifespan has increased, the skill points have also reached 351, but Bian Kai hasn't figured out how to use these skill points yet. The two embraced, and Ho Qianwei could feel Bian Kai's genuine happiness, which deeply moved him. Bian Kai was even happier than he was after spending 30 billion to buy his digital mall, which was only worth 10 billion. What a brother. Mr. Kai, we feel like we've known each other forever. How about we become sworn brothers? Ho Qianwei gripped Bian Kai's shoulders and shook him vigorously. Young Master Ho, your words are exactly what I wanted to say. Come, let's become sworn brothers. And so, to the astonishment of Lu Xueqing and Shou, the two began their sworn brotherhood ceremony. Bian Kai cleared the tea set from the coffee table, while Ho Qianwei respectfully brought out the statue of Guan Yu, the god of war and wealth, which had been enshrined in the office. They then set up the incense burner, each person holding 3 lit incense sticks, and solemnly knelt on the ground, shouting loudly. I, Ho Qianwei, 29 years old. Bian Kai, 20 years old. From this day forward, we swear to be sworn brothers, bound by life and death, helping each other in good times and bad, supporting each other through thick and thin, and helping each other in times of trouble. Heaven and earth bear witness. Mountains and rivers are our oath. We will uphold this vow for life and never break it. Their voices were so powerful and resounding. They seemed to shake heaven and earth, making Lu Xueqing and Shou want to laugh. After shouting their oath, the two bowed 3 times to the statue of Guan Yu, then inserted the burning incense sticks into the incense burner. Standing up, they linked arms, their eyes brimming with tears, and said, Big brother, second brother. Haha, I can't take it anymore. Those two are just too funny. Are you going to find a third brother later? Shou couldn't help but laugh. These two were hilarious. What era are we living in? Still doing this sworn brotherhood ceremony, and making it so formal. However, Bian Kai and Bian Shou weren't embarrassed by Shou's laughter. They could tell from each other's eyes that the other wasn't joking. From that moment on, they were the best of brothers, sharing joys and sorrows, bound together in life and death. Lu Xueqing initially found it very funny too. It was almost like a scene from a TV drama. But after observing them closely, she realized that these two weren't playing around. They had truly become sworn brothers. Recalling the time she and Bian Kai first arrived at the digital mall, the hatred in Bian Kai's eyes as he looked at the buy group's billboard. In an instant, Lu Xueqing seemed to understand something. Bian Kai's seemingly disastrous acquisition and comical actions seemed to have a deeper meaning. He spent an extra 20 billion to become sworn brothers with someone who might become the future head of the whole group. This is terrifying to think about. This junior is definitely not a fool. The depth of his scheme and the sophistication of his methods are simply unfathomable. For a moment, Lu Xueqing's expression turned serious. Everyone had underestimated the CEO Kai. Behind his extravagant spending lay an extremely meticulous plan. Perhaps following such a boss was indeed a very good choice. Lu Xueqing's heart began to waver. If Bian Kai knew Lu Xueqing's thoughts at this moment, he would be completely dumbfounded. The reason he became sworn brothers with Ho Qianwei was entirely because this guy had given him 300 days of extra lifespan. This is a life-saving grace. How could such a great favor not move people? Forget about becoming sworn brothers. If this guy were a woman, we'd even get married. Ignoring Shou, who was doubled over with laughter, and Lu Xueqing, who wore a mysterious expression, Bian Kai and Ho Qianwei sat back down on the sofa and resumed their conversation. Second brother, as your older brother, I should give you a gift. I notice your phone screen is cracked. I have our company's latest Qianwei 12 phone here. Its specs are top-notch, definitely comparable to an iPhone. Take it and use it. Ho Qianwei said, taking a flip phone from his office drawer and handing it to Bian Kai. The phone had a very attractive design, even changing color under light. When folded, it was a single, frameless screen, a perfect fit for Bian Kai. When unfolded, the screen was twice as large. Crucially, the fold in the middle of the screen was perfectly smooth, without any creases. Big brother, this phone is of good quality. I've never heard of it before. Is it made by your company? Bian Kai didn't stand on ceremony. He immediately removed the SIM card from his old phone and installed it in the new one, then tried out all the functions. Both its smoothness and memory are practically perfect, even better than the newly released iPhone 15. The quality is definitely good. Second brother, do you know how much it costs to make a phone like this? 13,000. That's almost the price of an iPhone 15. Ho Qianwei's face darkened considerably as he spoke of his sore spot. Bian Kai was also shocked by the phone's cost. It was too expensive. 13,000 in cost. What price could they possibly charge to make a profit? Seemingly noticing the surprise in Bian Kai's eyes, Ho Qianwei began to recount his painful experiences with a melancholy expression. Your older brother was tormented to this state by this phone. The three listened quietly to Ho Qianwei's experiences over the past few years, but he didn't mention the Ho family's internal selection of an heir. This was an internal family matter, involving some Ho family secrets, so it wasn't convenient to tell the three of them. Besides, knowing might get them into trouble. After hearing Ho Qianwei's story, the three finally understood why he was in such a hurry to sell the digital mall. Big brother, if you need money, just tell your second brother. I'll invest in you. How much? 50 billion is enough? If not, 100 billion. Bian Kai immediately became interested upon hearing how expensive mobile phone development was. Others might be afraid to spend money, but he wasn't. Ho Qianwei was stunned by Bian Kai's generosity. Just how much money did his newly befriended second brother have? He dared to mention 100 billion. Lu Xueqing and Shou, standing nearby, were also dumbfounded. They seemed to have underestimated their junior. Being able to easily talk about investing 100 billion meant his net worth was likely comparable to the Ho family. Second brother, I truly can't understand you, but you've already helped me a great deal. with your 30 billion, my mobile phone company can survive, and maybe things will even turn around. Besides, this time I won't put all my eggs in one basket. I met some building material suppliers when I was building this digital mall, and I plan to invest some money in building materials. With the whole families standing in this traditional industry, we definitely won't lose money. Don't worry, I shouldn't be short of money anymore. Alright then, but brother, if you really need money, be sure to tell me. A few $100 billion is nothing to me. Although Bian Kai was envious of the money-burning mobile phone R&D industry, since his brother had said he didn't need his help for the time being, he'd deal with it later. He was a very sentimental person. Since he had acknowledged his brother as his elder brother, he had to support his decisions. Besides, there were plenty of money-burning industries in the world. There was no need to fight to the death with his brother. Okay, with you as my backer, I feel more at ease. Oh dear, it's already past 3 o'clock. I have a meeting to attend. I have to get there quickly. If you need any paperwork done later, just call or text me. Ho Chin-wei glanced at the time and hurriedly packed his things. There was a very important meeting at 4 p.m. this afternoon, and he had to get there quickly. Okay, brother, contact me anytime if needed. Let's have lunch together sometime. Sure, I'll treat you then. I'm off now. Ho Chin-wei finished speaking and hurriedly left, leaving only Bian Kai and the other two in the office. Damn, they just had an employee meeting at the Shuefu Hotel this morning, and now they have to do it again. This time, Bian Kai was more experienced. Standing on the conference room stage, he first gave Bian Kai a stern talking to about internal auditing. Then he went on a perk-spreading campaign, directly adopting the practices of the Shuefu Hotel, including tripling salaries and improving meal standards. He even called the Shuefu Hotel to arrange a catering truck to deliver freshly prepared meals to the digital mall every morning, noon, and night, at the same standard as the hotel staff. Wow, the digital mall employees were thrilled. Some young and pretty girls even tried to rush onto the stage to give their beloved CEO Kai a kiss. Luckily, Liu Xueqing and Shi Ingxiu stepped in front of Bian Kai, and the girls who rushed forward felt quite inferior upon seeing the two stunning beauties. Although he left somewhat dejectedly, he still kept shouting, "President Kai, I love you. President Kai, I want to have your babies." This really scared Bian Kai quite a bit. If it weren't for the two female classmates present, his 20 years of chastity would have been ruined here today. After the employee meeting, Bian Kai specifically called over the CFO of the digital city, with the same requirements as the Shuefu Hotel. A special account was prepared for the digital city's daily expenses, and Bian Kai directly deposited 5 billion into it. This account was also named the Triumphant account. All of the digital city's daily cash flow was deposited into his Haiying account, and not a single penny was allowed to be touched. Although this requirement was strange, in the CFO's view, President Kai was simply transferring money between his own pocket and not a big deal. As for other affairs of the digital city, everything remained the same, except for the addition of an internal audit team temporarily formed by Liu Xueqing. As for how to handle the audit results, it would be the same as the Shuefu Hotel. Liu Xueqing suddenly realized that if Bian Kai bought 2 more companies, her law firm would really be short-staffed. Should she really agree to let this guy take over her law firm? Taking over wasn't a big deal, but something fell off. Liu Xueqing had a nagging feeling that Bian Kai wasn't taking over the law firm, but rather her as a person. After arranging everything at the digital mall, Bian Kai suggested going to the nearby Hengxiang shopping mall. Why are we going to Hengxiang shopping mall? Liu Xueqing asked Bian Kai, somewhat puzzled. Bian Kai didn't say anything, but pointed impatiently to his t-shirt. The once pristine white t-shirt was now covered in pale yellow spots. Tea stains left from the tea the 3 of them had sprayed on earlier. Liu Xueqing and Shi Ingxiu paused for a moment before realizing what was happening, barely managing to suppress their laughter. So the problem stemmed from them. Seeing the slightly disheveled Bian Kai, the two didn't ask any more questions and followed him towards Hengxiang shopping mall. Hengxiang shopping mall is the largest comprehensive shopping mall in Zhongbei City, with 7 floors, each roughly twice the size of a digital mall. It encompasses various industries including fashion department stores, restaurants, cultural and leisure activities, entertainment, and fitness, housing over 300 brand stores and more than 50 restaurants and bars. It also features a cinema, theater, ice rink, gym, spa, international bookstore, children's playground, and other leisure facilities. Bian Kai and his 2 companions immediately attracted attention upon entering Hengxiang building, mainly due to the striking beauty of Liu Xueqing and Shi Ingxiu. One possessed a powerful aura, the other a naturally alluring charm. Each had their own unique allure, and countless men's gazes were fixed on them. As for Bian Kai, dressed in cheap clothes, he was automatically ignored and once again mistaken for a driver or a bag carrier. Let's go, Mr. Kai. The men's clothing section is on the 2nd floor, east wing. Let's take the escalator up. The 3 took the escalator to the 2nd floor and walked over 200 meters east to reach the men's clothing section. Armani, Connery, Versace, Prada, all sorts of internationally renowned brands were on display. Actually, Bian Kai didn't care much about what he wore. The only reason he chose to come here was expensive. Now, if it's something that can cost money, no matter the amount, Bian Kai is willing to do it. It's fate, after all. So he embarked on a shopping spree at various brand stores, buying everything from head to toe, styles, and seasons, anything that fit. It felt like he was emptying the stores. At first, the 3 of them could manage, but as they bought more and more, they couldn't carry it all. Fortunately, the brand stores offered convenient same-city shipping, which freed them up. So Bian Kai mailed all the clothes to his school, keeping only his Versace casual outfit. As the saying goes, clothes make the man. Already handsome, Bian Kai looked completely different in the Versace, almost like a young heartthrob, though his face was more rugged than those young heartthrobs. The 2 beautiful girls were stunned. They hadn't expected Bian Kai, dressed up, to be just as good as any male celebrity on TV. When all else failed him, Bian Kai turned his attention to women's clothing. He'd heard women's clothing was much more expensive than men's. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't some kind of cross-dressing enthusiast. He intended to buy them as gifts for 2 beautiful women. They followed him around for so long and helped him choose clothes, so he felt he should thank them. At first, Liu Xueqing and Shi Ingxiu firmly refused. Bian Kai had a reason with them and appealed to their emotions for a long time before they finally agreed to accept his gifts. However, they only allowed 1 item per person. Any more than that, they wouldn't accept. 1 item it is, every little bit helps. So the 3 of them went to the women's clothing section for another look. Bian Kai bought each of them a bag, spending over 2 million yuan in total. Looking at the 2 million yuan bags in his hands, he couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Last night, he was still happy to have bought Qian and I a 5,000 yuan bag. He never expected to buy 2 million yuan bags today. All thanks to the system. Even though this lousy system is a bit stingy, it has truly changed Bian Kai's life, even his destiny. The only problem is that the 2 beautiful women absolutely refused to accept such expensive bags. Bian Kai had to use a lot of persuasion before they reluctantly agreed. But after buying and buying, Bian Kai realized he'd only spent less than 20 million. Damn it, these things are all too cheap. Buying companies is much faster. If only there were 60 or 70 more Starlight digital malls, that would be awesome. Bian Kai could instantly regain a normal lifespan. Looking at the handsome Bian Kai, Liu Xueqing felt something was missing. Right, he lacked a substantial watch. They say rich men collect watches, poor men collect cars. How could Bian Kai, a billionaire, not own a high-end watch? The main reason was that high-end watches are works of art, mostly limited editions, while high-end cars rarely have limited production. Furthermore, watches have collectible value. A luxury car might be scrapped after 20 years, but a good watch can last a century, and its value might even increase. So Liu Xueqing said, Mr. Kai, I know the sales manager of Qinda Jade in Zhongbei City. Why don't you go take a look at watches? Bian Kai's knowledge of watches was limited. He mainly had a mobile phone and rarely used them. Qinda Jade, is it very expensive? It is a bit expensive. A customized limited edition costs tens of millions or even hundreds of millions, but it shouldn't be a big deal for you. Really? Then let's go quickly, let's go. Upon hearing about hundreds of millions, Bian Kai immediately perked up and urged Lu Xueqing to take him to the Qinda Jade boutique. As expected of his chosen head housekeeper, she really understood the boss's mind. On the first floor of Hengxiang Shopping Mall, you'll find boutiques of all the world's most renowned watch brands. The largest of these is the Qinda Jade boutique, located in a prime location. Despite its large size, the space is surprisingly empty, with only a few transparent display cases showcasing fewer than 20 watches. The rest of the area is dedicated to customer service, featuring high-end sofas, expensive coffee tables, and a variety of pastries, coffee, and even wine for customers to enjoy. Even someone with Bian Kai's wealth would find it too extravagant. Rent at Hengxiang Shopping Mall is very high. A typical shop costs around 3 million yuan a year. A shop like Qinda Jade, with its larger area and prime location on the first floor, would cost at least 5 million yuan a year. Most importantly, the fact that such a large shop only displays 20 watches makes Bian Kai remark that when it comes to spending money, these internationally renowned brands truly know how to do it. Oh, what a pleasure to have attorney Lu grace my humble shop with your presence. What a rare treat. As the three entered, a beautiful woman exuding intellectual charm, whose beauty rivaled that of Lu Xueqing and Shering, immediately greeted them. Yuan, how could I dare come to your little shop? I can't afford it. I only dare to step inside today because of Mr. Kai. Lu Xueqing seemed quite familiar with this woman, exchanging banter upon meeting and casually introducing her to Bian Kai. Mr. Kai, this is my friend, Lin Yuan, the sales manager of Qinda Jade in Zhongbei City. Don't let her young age fool you. She's incredibly wealthy. Upon hearing Lu Xueqing mention her wealth, Lin Yuan's expression darkened slightly for some reason. Lu Xueqing didn't explain how the two knew each other. Although Bian Kai sensed something, he didn't ask, as it was a matter of personal privacy. Yuan, this is Bian Kai, Mr. Kai. His financial strength is beyond your imagination. He's here to buy a watch today. Could you recommend one? Lin Yuan looked at Bian Kai with some curiosity. For the renowned lawyer Lu to speak of his immense wealth, this handsome young man, who looked like a male celebrity, was certainly no ordinary person. Could he really be some male celebrity? But I've never heard of him. He's definitely too handsome though. Hello, Mr. Kai. Welcome to Qinda Jade. What price range watch are you looking for? We have watches ranging from hundreds of thousands to millions. Bian Kai immediately thought, this isn't right. Didn't my senior say that the watches here are all worth tens or hundreds of millions? How come it's only a few million? Lu Xueqing seemed to sense Bian Kai's confusion and quickly asked, Yuan, don't you have custom-made watches worth tens or hundreds of millions here? Why aren't you taking them out? Bian Kai up yet? That's right, Miss Lin. I came here to buy watches worth hundreds of millions. A few million is out of the question. If it's only a few million, it's really a bit low compared to Bian Kai's expectations. Lin Yuan looked at Bian Kai in disbelief. This was this person that attorney Lu brought. Originally, because it was someone brought by Lu Xueqing, and because the person had said they were very wealthy, she had mentioned watches worth several million. When others came, they'd at most mention watches worth a few hundred thousand, never anything over a million. They hadn't expected these two to have such huge appetites, actually asking for watches worth tens or even hundreds of millions. Those kinds of watches aren't something you can just buy on a whim. Ahem, Mr. Kai. To purchase those custom-made watches, we need to verify your identity or assets to prove you're qualified to own a Qinda Jade custom-made watch. Lin Yuan knew this was going to offend people, but it was Qinda Jade's rule, and she, a mere sales manager, dared not disobey. Lu Xueqing, seemingly remembering something, quickly added, sorry, Mr. Kai, I was careless. Qinda Jade does seem to have such a requirement. There's nothing we can do. It's a big international brand, very domineering, but we have to comply. This was the first time Bian Kai had ever heard of needing to verify identity and assets to buy something. He was just a soon-to-be junior in college. What identity did he have? As for assets, the Watch Country Supreme Black Card had no limit, but the key was that they might not be able to verify the items produced by the system. There's also the Xuefu Hotel and Xinguang Digital City, but only transfer contracts have been signed for these two assets. The transfer procedures aren't complete yet. This means these assets are still registered under Chu Tianhe and Ho Qinyue's names. However, as a wealthy boss, it's somewhat unacceptable that he can't even prove his own assets. Therefore, Bian Kai had no choice but to hand over the Supreme Black Card from Watch Country to Lin Yuan. Whether they can find out is up to Qinda Jade's capabilities. If they can't find out, it only proves they're not high-class enough, not that Bian Kai is short money. After receiving the card, Lin Yuan didn't delay and went straight to the back of the store, presumably to check the balance. Bian Kai wasn't worried about her keeping the black card. No one else could use it except him. The three of them sat on the sofa, chatting idly, while waiting for the check to be completed. Just then, a discordant voice rang out. Oh, isn't this attorney sure? I didn't expect to run into you here, and attorney Lu too. What a coincidence. Bian Kai and his group looked towards the doorway, where a man who was only 6 meters tall, but weighed well over 160 kilograms, so fat that his neck was barely visible, and whose face was full of fat, walked in. A heavily made-up woman was clinging to his arm, her entire body pressed against his mound of fat. Behind them were two burly bodyguards wearing sunglasses. Fatty Jean, I can be wherever I want. It's none of your business. Sheng's face immediately darkened upon seeing the newcomers, and Lu Xueqing's eyes were also filled with anger. Don't get so angry, Attorney Sure. I didn't really do anything to you. Attorney Lu arrived just in time, didn't she? Besides, I paid you to represent me in this case. The man known as Fatty Jean leered at Sheng, practically drooling. Sheng seemed to have been hit where it hurt. Her pretty face turned deathly pale, and her lips trembled, unable to utter a single word. Seeing her best friend being wronged, Lu Xueqing couldn't hold back any longer. She stepped forward, pointing at Fatty Jean and yelling, well, load a bull, Fatty Jean. Don't think you can do whatever you want just because you have the Bai family backing you up. Don't forget who we are. We'll get you in jail sooner or later. Fatty Jean, however, remained nonchalant, a mocking smile playing on his lips. Stop bragging. In Zhongbei, no one has ever been able to get me, Jean Mingzhu, into jail. Don't overestimate yourself. You might end up in jail yourself. But if you two keep me company, not only will you avoid jail, but if I'm in a good mood, I might even introduce you to some big cases. I guarantee you'll make a fortune. You? Lu Xueqing was about to speak when Bian Kai interrupted her. Wait a minute, senior. What's going on? Has this fat guy bullied you? Is the Bai group his backer? Bian Kai asked while mentally using skill points. It seemed there was no way things would end peacefully today, especially after hearing Lu Xueqing say that the fat guy's backer was the Bai family, which made him even more furious. The humiliation by Manhwa inflicted on him last night was too profound. Since it's not the right time to take action against the Bai family, he might as well start by collecting some interest from Bai's underlings. System, exchange for a fighting skill for me. Exchange for a basic fighting skill requires 20 skill points. Please confirm whether to exchange. Exchange. Exchange successful. Suddenly, many fighting moves appeared in Bian Kai's mind. These moves had become instinctive, as if he had practiced them countless times and could execute them effortlessly. System, increase my physique by 100 points and my mental strength by 100 points. A warm current flowed through Bian Kai's body. He felt his strength suddenly increase significantly, and his mind became clearer. Combined with the exchanged basic fighting skill, Bian Kai finally felt confident in facing the sudden event. At this moment, the attribute panel in his mind changed again. Host Bian Kai. Funds unlimited. Lifespan 351 days. Skill points 131. Constitution 106. Normal human 10. Mental strength 107. Normal human 10. Skill basic combat Behind a specialty store, Lin Yuan inserted the bank card Bian Kai gave her into the POS machine, but it couldn't read any information. The machine didn't react at all. After several more attempts, it still didn't work. However, as the sales manager Chin Jade, she was very familiar with the markings on bank card from the watchmaking industry. This card couldn't possibly be fake. Finally, Lin Yuan had no choice but to report the matter to Chin Jade headquarters. Chin Jade has strict internal requirements for verifying customer identities. Frontline staff can only conduct initial reviews. The final review is conducted at headquarters. After headquarters verifies the identity, they will customize the watch according to the customer's requirements. The specific price is determined by the materials, craftsmanship, and time involved in manufacturing the watch. Watch country, Chin Jade headquarters. Ariella was completely baffled when she received the photo of the bank card from Lin Yuan. As Chin Jade's dedicated customer identity verification staff, she had seen far more than Lin Yuan, yet she still couldn't identify the card. The only thing she could confirm was that the card wasn't fake. The logo on it was a genuine Watch Country Bank logo. However, verifying customer identities couldn't stop just because someone didn't recognize it. Chin Jade, a century-old establishment, would be a laughingstock if it couldn't even handle this simple matter. Ariella could only continue reporting upwards, eventually reaching Lilith, the current president of Chin Jade. Even Lilith couldn't recognize it. Although only 25 years old this year, Lilith had been exceptionally intelligent and had a keen business sense since childhood. At the age of 15, she was designated as the family heir by the then president of Chin Jade, who was also Lilith's grandfather. At 20, she officially took over the family business, starting from the bottom. Within just 3 years, she gained the approval of all senior management and replaced her grandfather as president of Chin Emerald. Having risen to such a high position at such a young age, Lilith's experience was exceptionally broad. Even so, she still couldn't recognize the origin of the bank card. In the end, she had to ask her friend Nicola for help. Nicola, daughter of Grauman, the president of the watchmaking bank, placed a photo that had been circulated widely before her father. Grauman's expression instantly changed. He abruptly stood up from his chair, and without a word, hurriedly walked to the large safe in the room. Click, click, click. With a series of clicks from the combination lock, the heavy safe door was pulled open. Grauman took out a very exquisite wooden box from the back, which also had a combination lock. Nicola was completely bewildered by her father's actions. What was happening? It was just a photo of a bank card, wasn't it? Why was her usually wise and refined father suddenly so flustered? The small box was opened. Inside was only a letter. Judging from the color of the paper, the letter was at least a century old. Grauman's hands trembled as he carefully opened the letter. A slightly yellowed, old photograph fell out and slid to the floor. Grauman seemed too weak to squat down and pick it up, so Nicola helped her father. Hey, father, the bank card in this photo is the same as the one I have. Even the card number is the same, except this photo is black and white. Give it to me. Grauman ignored Nicola's surprise and, in a hoarse voice, took the old photo from his daughter. It's here. You finally appeared. My Murdoch family has waited for over 100 years, and finally, it's here. Ha ha ha. Grauman's eyes were bloodshot, tears welling up, his expression almost crazed. Father, what's wrong? Don't scare your daughter. Seeing her father like this, Nicola panicked. She had never seen her father like this before. Nicola, my daughter, come, sit down. You're all grown up now, and there are some things you can know, and this matter concerns you. Grauman, slightly awakened by his daughter's call, pulled Nicola to sit on the sofa and began to recount a long-forgotten story. Over 100 years ago, the entire Western continent was suddenly cursed. No one knows the reason, but the lifespans of all members of prominent families suddenly decreased drastically, with a maximum lifespan of only 35 years. Once they reached 35, they would inexplicably encounter various accidents, even in completely safe places. Your great-grandfather spent a great deal of money to build a safe house using the most advanced technology in the world at the time. He repeatedly confirmed that there was no danger in the surrounding area and even dispatched security personnel to patrol 24 hours a day. But ultimately, it still couldn't be avoided. The location of the safe house hadn't experienced any geological disasters for thousands of years, but the instant your great-grandfather turned 35, a sudden eruption of lava instantly engulfed the safe house. Strangely, after the safe house was completely reduced to ashes, the lava abruptly disappeared, leaving only a very deep cave. Nicola's sexy little mouth gaped open upon hearing this. This was unbelievable. Was her father telling a fairy tale? Had her family actually experienced something like this? But that doesn't make sense. There are many elders in the family over 35, and they're all alive and well. But father, you're already 60, and you're fine, aren't you? Doesn't that mean the curse has disappeared? Grauman gave a wry smile and said, if it really has disappeared, that would be good. What I'm about to tell you is related to this card, Nicola. Listen carefully. This is very important to you, because that powerful curse will reappear soon. Anyone in the family over 35 will die instantly, and those of you younger than 35 won't live past 35 either. Father, is what you're saying true? How much longer? Is there no other way? Nicola was shocked by her father's words and jumped up from the sofa, blurting out several questions. My dear, sit down. Let me tell you slowly. According to that person's prediction, the curse will reappear in a year, but the exact day is unknown. That person can't be wrong, because it was he who suppressed the curse 100 years ago, allowing subsequent generations of our people to live past 35. Then why not just have that person suppress it again in a year? Father, I don't want you to die, sob. Nicola now believed her father's words. Although it sounded fantastical, her father's solemn expression proved that this wasn't a fairy tale. That person is already dead. He exhausted his life fighting the curse. Although he sealed the curse at the last moment, he turned to ashes before he could kill it. Dead. Nicola looked at her father in disbelief. Yes, he's dead, completely vanished. Before he died, he left a message. 100 years from now, the curse will break its seal and return to the world. He also left a letter. This one I have is a copy of that letter. All the major Western families have this letter. My dear, after you read it, you'll understand why father was so agitated. Grauman handed the ancient letter to Nicola, who carefully took it and began to read. The letter was written in Xia script, but Nicola, who had learned Xia language since childhood, could understand it perfectly. She seemed to understand why her father had made her learn Xia language from a young age, and why she had been beaten when she didn't want to. Her father had never hit her before, but that one time he had beaten her severely, and Nicola still felt a chill when she thought about it. By the time you read this letter, I should already be dead. I don't know if I've killed it. If I have, congratulations, you've completely rid yourself of it. But if I've only sealed it away, it will eventually break free and reappear. Then the entire planet will be in its shadow. Therefore, I've left you a way out. If one day someone appears with my supreme black card, that person is the one who can save you. Don't be too happy yet. It's uncertain when this person will appear. Perhaps the planet will be extinct before he even appears. Furthermore, he needs to pass the test I've set to gain the power to fight the curse. If you find this person, you don't need to do anything special for him. Let him grow naturally. Treat him like an ordinary person. All transactions with him must be equal. There can be no special treatment. If you violate this, the test might fail. If he fails, the planet will have no further chance. Remember this. The only requirement is that this person cannot die. If he dies, the test will fail completely. Of course, you shouldn't deliberately protect him either. Just help him when he's about to die. Furthermore, each of your families must deposit 70% of your business profits into my supreme black card annually. This is related to the test I've set. Of course, you can choose not to deposit. If my test cannot be officially initiated, then everything will be meaningless. The choice is yours. This is all I can do for Blue Star. As for what the curse truly is, that's not something you can know, and you shouldn't try to understand it. Do not attempt to approach the seal. Anyone who approaches the seal will die. There will be no escape. Remember this. This letter, only a few hundred words long, revealed a vast amount of information. While it resolved some of Nicola's doubts, she still had many questions. Father, who exactly is this person? Why can he seal the curse? My dear Nicola, this man comes from the east. We don't know his name. We usually call him God. Only God can resist that evil curse. Grahamen's eyes were filled with fervor and worship as he spoke of the man. Although he had never seen God, the legend of God had always been passed down in his family. Seeing her father's expression, Nicola suddenly became very interested in the person holding the supreme black card. Father, what should we do now? Nicola asked. What should we do? We don't need to do anything. Didn't God say in the letter that we can't interfere in anything the person does? If the test fails, everything is over. Oh no, there's something we should do. Right, I forgot to ask you. Where did you get this photo? Graham then realized he still didn't know how his daughter had gotten the photo. He'd been completely overwhelmed with excitement. Lilith sent it to me, asking me to verify if this person is qualified to buy her watch. Lilith, the young president of Chinda Jade. Yes, father, it's her. I never expected that you, old Chinda, could miscalculate like this. Handing over the presidency to your granddaughter so early, not even to your 45-year-old son is prime. You must be worried about the curse. You planned so early, but I discovered the heir to God first. Old Chinda, you've schemed your whole life, but your luck isn't so good. All right, dear Nicola, you can go now. This matter isn't for you young people to interfere with. I need to call a meeting with all the major families and organizations. I never thought I, Graham, would one day issue a Jianghu decree. Yes, I think God was referring to a Jianghu decree back then. I never thought I'd be the second person besides God to issue one. Graham was so excited he was almost incoherent. He pushed the bewildered Nicola out of the office and locked the door from the inside. What? Why can't we young people interfere? I want to see who this person really is. Nicola looked indignant. Right, Lilith definitely knows something about this person. She'd go find her. At the Chinda family, besides sending the photo to Nicola, Lilith also found her grandfather, Gabriel. As someone who also knew of the curse and the existence of God, Gabriel's reaction was almost identical to Grahamen's. Lilith also learned from her grandfather about the events of a century ago and the true nature of the supreme black card. Although the letter left by God forbade her from participating in the test of the heir, selling a watch to the heir shouldn't be a problem. It's a normal transaction. Building a good relationship with the heir beforehand might even get her special treatment later. Therefore, Gabriel directly ordered the family craftsman to create a world-class, unique watch and personally set its price, 500 million. Since God demanded equal treatment, it had to be done strictly by the book. The watch was worth 500 million, so it had to be 500 million, no leniency whatsoever. Moreover, Gabriel knew the terrifying wealth contained within the supreme black card. For a century, the various families had faithfully followed God's orders to survive. 70% of their annual profits were deposited into that card without fail. How much money was actually inside? Probably no one knew, because that card was specially made for God by the watch country, and all control over it was revoked after its creation. Even the watch country's banks don't know exactly how much money is in it, but it must be an incredibly terrifying number, and it's still growing. To cultivate a closer relationship with Bian Kai, Gabriel even instructed Lilith to order the Chinda Jade boutique in Zhongbei City. Sell Bian Kai their best watches first, regardless of who commissioned them. This order was given because the watch specially commissioned for the heir to God would take approximately 1 month to complete. This was already the shortest possible time, achieved only after temporarily abandoning other orders and mobilizing all the watchmakers in the Chinda family to work day and night. Lilith, who had been kicked out by her grandfather, shared Nicola's intense interest in Bian Kai. Just then Nicola called, and the two decided to travel to Xia country to see what kind of person this heir to God truly was. However, as the president of Chinda Jade, Lilith needed to settle company affairs before departing, which would take about a month. The watch specially made for Bian Kai would also be completed during this time, allowing her to use the opportunity of delivering it to him on her way to Xia country. It was perfectly reasonable for the CEO to personally deliver such an expensive watch, and perhaps her grandfather would even support her in doing so. Grandpa's willingness to have a watch custom made for this heir clearly indicated his desire to cultivate a closer relationship. Wouldn't her personal delivery show even greater importance? At the same time, a decree from Graham and Murdoch caused a massive uproar among the major Western families and organizations. Upon receiving the decree, the actual controllers of all the major families and organizations immediately set off for the watch country, where an unprecedented meeting of industry leaders was about to begin. Beijing, behind the Chinda Jade boutique. Lin Yuan, awaiting notification from headquarters, unexpectedly received a call from CEO Lilith, which immediately threw her into a panic. That was the CEO of Chinda Jade. Why was she calling her personally? Could it be because of that CEO Kai? Just who is this Bian Kai? How could the CEO have called specifically for him? Was this watch country bank card truly something extraordinary? Lilith's order was firm. The holder of this card would be Chinda Jade's most esteemed customer, without exception. The Zhongbei City boutique must provide this customer with the best service and fulfill all their requests. Furthermore, all Chinda Jade watches, regardless of whether they're custom-made or not, will be prioritized for this person. However, they must be sold at full price. No discounts are allowed, and any problems arising will be the responsibility of Chinda Jade headquarters. Meanwhile, a watch worth 500 million, specially customized for this customer, is being urgently produced and will be completed in about a month. The full cost of this watch can be collected from the customer in advance. Lilith's order completely shocked Lin Yuan. This blatantly violated Chinda Jade's customer-centric service principle, making an exception for Bian Kai. Although shocked and confused upon receiving the order, Lin Yuan had to obey the president's orders. Coincidentally, a watch previously customized by a customer, priced at around 20 million, arrived at the store. Now, the only option was to refund that customer, as the president had mandated that all watches, regardless of whether they were custom-made or not, must be prioritized for Bian Kai. Lin Yuan took the watch out of the safe and went to the front. Lin Yuan, who had just stepped forward, immediately noticed the tense standoff between the two sides. She had heard about Jin Pengzi and Shirixio from Lu Shiweqing. Lin Yuan utterly despised Jin Pengzi's actions, using a lawsuit as an excuse to invite Shirixio to dinner, then drugging her water in an attempt to assault her. But her shop was full of her customers, and seeing the two sides about to come to blows, she quickly stepped in to smooth things over. Oh, Mr. Jin, you're here. Don't stand, please sit down. Lawyer Lu, Lawyer Shuren, Mr. Kai, please sit down too. I have something to discuss with you. Lin Yuan's tone towards Bian Kai was noticeably awkward. She couldn't help it, as he was the president's most distinguished guest. Lu Shiweqing had already given Bian Kai a general account of the affair between Jin Mingzhu and Shirixio, and Bian Kai's veins bulged upon hearing it. Indeed, the Bai family are all birds of a feather. However, just as he was about to make a move, Lin Yuan intervened and smoothed things over. This was, after all, someone else's shop, and it wouldn't be appropriate to cause a scene in front of them. Therefore, Lu Shiweqing and Shirixio pulled Bian Kai to sit on the sofa behind them. These two women were shrewd. They had already realized Bian Kai was planning to make a move. However, with his thin arms and legs, how could he possibly defeat his opponent, especially since the other party had brought two bodyguards? Just as they were wondering what to do, Lin Yuan finally came out, and the two women breathed a sigh of relief. Ha! Manager Lin, don't worry, it's alright. I'm just here to pick up the watch, not to cause trouble. Oh, is that the watch I customized? Open it up and let me see, and while I'm at it, let some bumpkins see what a 20 million watch looks like. Fatty Jean didn't sit on the sofa. He first stared intently at Lin Yuan for a few moments. What he was imagining was anyone's guess. Then he noticed the exquisite watch box in Lin Yuan's hand and burst into laughter. The watch he ordered half a year ago had finally arrived, Thankfully, it arrived in time. Lin Yuan completely ignored Jean Ponzi's wolfish gaze and said apologetically, Mr. Jean, I was just about to tell you about this. This watch is indeed the one you ordered, but I just received orders from headquarters that it will be sold to Mr. Bian Kai first. Only if he doesn't want it will be sold to you. If you have any questions, you can contact Qin Jade headquarters directly, and they will explain it to you. As she spoke, Lin Yuan went to Bian Kai, first solemnly returning the supreme black card to him, then opening the watch box in her hand. A pure silver-white watch lay quietly inside, gleaming under the light. Mr. Kai, are you satisfied with this watch? Its strap and case are entirely made of 18K white gold, and the time markers on the crystal, caseback, and dial are all made from the same IF grade, 20-karat top-quality diamond. Before Lin Yuan could finish speaking, Jin Mingzhu's angry roar suddenly came from behind. Lin Yuan, what do you mean? That's a watch I customized. Why should I sell it to that pretty boy? If you don't explain yourself clearly today, I'll smash up your shop. Lin Yuan turned around upon hearing this, her face grim, and said, Boss Jin, I've already made myself clear. Headquarters ordered me to give Mr. Bian Kai priority in choosing. If you have any questions, you can ask headquarters. Dare to smash something up and see what happens? Trying to cause trouble here? Don't you know where you are? Fatty Jean froze upon hearing this. He truly dared not smash the shop. Qin Jade was an entity even his backer, the Bai family, couldn't afford to offend. If he really smashed it up, the Bai family would likely immediately sever ties with him, and Qin Jade would definitely not let him off the hook. The consequences would be far more dire. I'll take this watch. Manager Lin, swipe your card. Bian Kai stood up and handed the supreme black card to Lin Yuan. Although he didn't understand why Qin Jade was so respectful to him, he figured it was most likely related to this card. As for the card's true nature, perhaps only the higher-ups at Qin Jade's headquarters knew, but Bian Kai didn't care. What he needed to do now was buy his life. The card was unimportant. He had been simmering with anger, and now that he'd managed to steal this fat man's thunder, it was incredibly satisfying. The key was that he could spend money. He had to get it quickly. You brat, you're asking for it. How dare you steal my thunder? I can't afford to mess with Qin Jade. You gigolo kept by a woman. I'll kill you in a heartbeat. The fat man was completely enraged. This was a gift he had specially prepared for by Qingshan's 50th birthday. His backer's birthday was in 20 days, and now his gift had been stolen. Where was he supposed to find an identical one? Lin Yuan, that filthy bitch, bullying him was one thing. After all, she was from Qin Jade, but this greenhorn dared to shit on his head. He was asking for trouble. In Jean Ponzi's Lu mind, Bian Kai was just a gigolo kept by Lu Xiueqing or Shixio, or even both of them. No sooner had Jean Ponzi finished speaking than he shook off his female companion's arm and charged at Bian Kai, raising his hand to slap him. No one expected Jean Ponzi to actually dare to do it in front of everyone. Seeing Bian Kai's handsome face about to be slapped, Lu Xiueqing and the others were terrified. But the expected sound of a slap didn't come. Instead, Jean Ponzi screamed and knelt on the ground. Just as Fatty Jin's slap was about to land, Bian Kai swiftly grabbed his wrist, twisting it in the opposite direction. A slight crack sound was heard, the sound of bones being squeezed forcefully. You want to hit me? You fucking actually want to hit me? Do you think I'm still that weak coward from yesterday, letting you beat and humiliate me? Bian Kai's face was contorted with rage as he gripped Fatty Jin's wrist tightly, forcing him to his knees with 10 times the strength of a normal person, eliciting a piercing scream. Fatty Jin's actions reminded him of Bai Minghui the previous night. A humiliation he had never suffered in his life. His girlfriend had been stolen, and he had almost been beaten to death. Bian Kai seemed normal today, but it was only because his attention was temporarily diverted by the sudden appearance of the system. The resentment he felt after being humiliated by Minghui remained unexpressed. Jean Ponzi had once again run into Bian Kai's grasp by sheer coincidence, resulting in a surge of strength. Having also acquired basic fighting skills, Bian Kai went all out. Just as Jean Ponzi's wrist was about to be broken, the two burly bodyguards rushed in. These two were clearly trained fighters. One threw a punch at Bian Kai's head, while the other kicked at his lower body with incredible speed. But Bian Kai's mental strength was at a high 107, and combined with his newly acquired basic fighting skills, he instantly saw through their openings and their countermeasures. Bang! Bang! Before the two bodyguards could even begin their moves, Bian Kai thwarted them, kicking each of them away and sending them crashing heavily into the transparent display case of the boutique. The display case, unable to bear the weight of the two men, shattered into pieces, scattering the few expensive watches inside. All of this happened in a blink of an eye. By the time Lu Xiueqing and the others reacted, the two bodyguards were already gone. Mr. Kai, calm down. We can't go too far in public, or I won't be able to handle it. Lin Yuan looked at the mess in the store with helplessness. She hadn't expected the seemingly frail Bian Kai to be so capable. Jean Ponzi's men hadn't even been able to fight back. However, the commotion had attracted a crowd, and mall staff and security guards were on their way. Lu Xiueqing and Shixio also tried to persuade Bian Kai. They hadn't expected him to be so strong either, although they felt a strange satisfaction watching the once arrogant Jean Ponzi kneel on the ground and wail. But they were lawyers, and they understood the seriousness of the situation. If Bian Kai really seriously injured Fatty Jean, he would definitely face legal trouble in front of everyone. After the women's persuasion, Bian Kai calmed down, glanced at the surrounding crowd, and finally released his grip. Fatty Jean scrambled away, glaring at Bian Kai with venomous eyes. He had truly lost face today. Not only had his belongings stolen, but he had also been beaten up. Everyone thought Fatty Jean would report it to the police, but unexpectedly, he simply ran away with his bodyguard and the terrified woman. Before leaving, he glanced at Bian Kai several times, as if trying to memorize his face. Report to the police? Fatty Jean couldn't afford that kind of humiliation. He had to get revenge himself. The man who beat him had to die. As for those women, he'd deal with them until they died. After Fatty Jean ran away, the mall staff and security guards finally arrived and learned the details of what had happened from Lin Yuan, of course, after some alteration. Otherwise, if the fact that Qin Jade had sold someone else's custom-made watch to Bian Kai were to be exposed, it would definitely damage the reputation of this century-old brand. The onlookers finally understood why the conflict had broken out. It turned out that the fat man had lost to the young man in a fight over the watch, and, in a fit of anger, started a brawl. Unexpectedly, he was outmatched and got beaten up instead. Some people recognized Fatty Jin's identity and whispered among themselves in the crowd. Isn't that Fatty Jin, the boss of Feet Construction? I can't believe he got taken advantage of by this young man. TCH, that fat guy's always up to no good, bullying and monopolizing the market with the backing of the Bai family. I didn't expect him to run into a tough nut to crack this time. That fat guy probably won't let this go easily. I wonder if that young man can withstand Fatty Jin's retaliation. That's none of our business. That young man's background isn't simple either. To be able to snatch a watch from Fatty Jin, his backing must be strong. We could just watch the show. There's no need for us to worry about these big shots. Since the fault lay with Fatty Jin, and he had already fled with his men, the matter was considered closed. The crowd had dispersed, leaving only Bian Kai and his group, along with the staff from Hengxiang building, inside the store. Actually, these staff members were also planning to leave, but Bian Kai suddenly stopped them. By this time, he had completely calmed down, but he didn't regret what he had just done. He had hit him, and not killing the fat man was already a sign of mercy. Just as the staff members were looking at Bian Kai with confusion, this guy said something that left everyone present speechless. Manager Wang, right? I'm very interested in the shopping mall. Could you please tell your boss I'd like to buy it? Would it be convenient to discuss it further? The price is absolutely fair. After an afternoon of shopping sprees, even including the watch Jean Ponzi bought, he'd only spent 40 million. The pace was too slow. Bian Kai realized that buying companies with a faster way to spend money, so he set his sights on the shopping mall. Such a large mall. Even the electronics market was worth 30 billion. This mall must be worth hundreds of billions. If he could really buy it, wow, he'd make a fortune. It would instantly add several years to his lifespan. However, just as he was getting most excited, Lu Shueqing next to him poured cold water on his enthusiasm. Mr. Kai, this mall isn't privately owned. It can only be rented. It can't be bought or sold. Lu Shueqing was also helpless. Why did Mr. Kai want to buy everything he saw? Did he have a grudge against money? She had just begun to change her opinion of him, and now he was acting like a fool again. Oh, is that so? I'm so sorry, I didn't know. Bian Kai was extremely embarrassed after hearing Lu Shueqing's words. How was he supposed to know this mall wasn't privately owned? He'd only been here once last night when he bought a bag for Chin and I. He was usually dirt poor. How could he possibly shop in such an expensive place? Besides, he didn't have the time. The Hengxiang staff looked at Bian Kai like he was an idiot. Was this guy crazy? He dared to say such outrageous things. Bian Kai was furious at the staff stares. Damn it. Were they looking down on him? If he couldn't buy, he could rent. Manager Wong, I wonder how many shops in this mall are still vacant? I'd like to rent them all, for 10 years for now. Sir, please don't joke around. We have a lot of things to do and don't have time to chat with you. Manager Wong's face was already very ugly. He was certain this guy was there to cause trouble. Even Lin Yuan, who didn't know what Bian Kai had done before, thought he was just looking for trouble. Who has time to chat with you? I really want to rent a store. What's the logic in you ignoring business? Where's your manager? Call him over. I want to ask him if Hengxiang Shopping Mall has a rule about big stores bullying customers. Bian Kai didn't expect his words to actually intimidate Manager Wong, whose attitude immediately improved. Sir, are you really going to rent our store? What a novel way to put it. What am I doing here if I'm not renting a store? Playing the fool. Bian Kai's sweeping generalization made everyone around him look unpleasant. Even Lu Shueqing and Shi Ingxiu rolled their eyes. What do you mean playing the fool? You're the fool. Your whole family are fools. I wonder how many rooms this gentleman is planning to rent. I can show you around. Although Manager Wong was insulted by Bian Kai, he could only keep it to himself. Who told him to be so arrogant? Bian Kai was right. If the general manager found out he was ignoring business, he could pack his bags and leave. How many shops do you have? Including the vacant shops on Golden Street, there are 30 shops left. Please wait a moment. I'll have someone bring over the information for these 30 shops, so you can choose one. Choosing? Is that something men should do? Why should men make choices? I want all 30 shops, renting them for 10 years. Give me the account number. I'll transfer the money to you right now. Bian Kai realized that being too soft wouldn't work. This Manager Wong was a jerk. The more polite he was, the less he respected him. He decided to be firm. Rent them all. Do you have a lot of things to sell? Manager Wong was sweating bullets. What kind of person was this? He just blurted out that he wanted to rent 30 shops, and for 10 years. I want to rent them. Is that any of your business? Even if they're empty, it's none of your concern. Can you even make that decision? If not, find someone who can. Manager Wong gave a wry smile. He really couldn't make that decision. The rent for 30 shops was far too much. It was beyond his authority. Finally, left with no other option, he called the general manager. General Manager Kai Jijia was also shocked upon hearing the news. Someone actually wanted to rent 30 stores at once. Such a large deal naturally caught his attention. After hanging up, he rushed to the Chinda Jade flagship store. Upon entering, he was immediately appalled by the scene of utter chaos. This store was one he had worked incredibly hard to acquire. Chinda Jade had originally only planned to open one store in Shanghai, but he had used his connections to relentlessly persuade them to agree to open a flagship store here. In other words, in the entire Xia Kingdom, besides the one in Shanghai, his store was the only other Chinda Jade store there, a landmark of the Hengxiang building. Manager Lin, what happened? Was the store vandalized? Who did it? Are they tired of living? Kai Jijia asked grimly. This was a direct slap in the face to him. I smashed it. Who are you, shouting like that? Bian Kai, upon hearing the other person say he was tired of living, immediately flew into a rage. Damn it, his lifespan was already short, and someone dared to curse him. Lifespan was Bian Kai's Achilles heel. Touching it would provoke his fury. You smashed it? Manager Wong, what are you still standing there for? Call someone to arrest him. Kai Jijia, upon hearing someone dare to challenge him, immediately jumped up. Mr. Kai, please calm down. It's not what you think. This gentleman can't be arrested. Manager Wong hadn't expected this turn of events. Before he could even react, his boss was fighting with Bian Kai. He quickly pulled Kai Jijia aside. He explained the whole situation to him in detail. After hearing the whole story, Kai Jijia was incredibly embarrassed. He had acted impulsively. He smashed Chinda Jade like that, and Manager Lin hadn't said a word. Who is this guy? Is this Mr. Kai? I was a bit confused earlier. Sorry. Ignorance is no excuse. Please forgive me. Kai Jijia, true to his businessman nature, changed his expression faster than flipping a leaf. 1 second he was glaring angrily at Bian Kai. The next he was all smiles and apologizing. Bian Kai wasn't one to hold a grudge. Since the guy had already apologized, that was fine, especially since he was counting on this guy to pay him. It's alright, Mr. Kai. I was a bit impolite earlier. Let's just let it go. But I was wondering about my shop rental. No problem. You're practically giving me money. There's no reason not to rent it. Don't worry. I'll give you a 10% discount on all rent. How many were you renting again? 30 rooms, right? I'll have someone prepare the lease agreements right away. Bian Kai immediately thought, this won't do. Who told you to give me a discount? This discount will save me so much money and shorten my lifespan. Mr. Kai, the discount isn't necessary, but I need your help with a small favor. Sure, Mr. Kai, what is it? I'll definitely help if I can. This is too simple for you, Mr. Kai. Here's the thing. If anyone terminates their lease in this mall, just let me know, and I'll rent it immediately for a minimum of 10 years. Mr. Kai, aren't 30 shops enough for you? You want to rent more? Kai Jijia was taken aback. This young man looked quite young, but his appetite was huge. But if he really wanted to rent, it didn't matter who he rented to. 30 shops definitely aren't enough. The more the better. I'll trouble you with this, Mr. Kai. Alright, since Mr. Kai said so, I have to give him face. It's settled then. I'll have someone prepare the lease agreements. Kai Jijia readily agreed to Bian Kai's request. In his mind, Bian Kai couldn't possibly rent as many as he wanted, but he never imagined that this very thought would almost cost him his job as general manager. The lease agreements were ready-made templates. Bian Kai filled in the blanks, signed, and stamped Hengxiang Mall's official seal. That was it. Mr. Kai, of these 30 stores, 20 are inside the mall, with an annual rent of 3 million yuan for 10 years. You choose to pay the rent in full up front, which is 600 million yuan. The other 10 are on the outside Golden Street, at 5 million yuan each, also for 10 years, with a lump sum payment, totaling 500 million yuan. The total is 1.1 billion yuan. Kai Jijia was also shocked by Bian Kai's extravagant spending. Most tenants choose to pay rent semi-annually or annually, but Bian Kai is paying the entire 10-year rent up front, and all future leases will follow this model. This must be the scion of a powerful family. His generosity is astounding. With this huge sum of rent, Kai Jijia might be able to advance further and become the chairman of Hengxiang Mall. Okay, no problem, Mr. Kai. Please send me your company's account information. I'll transfer the money right now. Kai Jijia suppressed his excitement and had the finance department send him the account number. Bian Kai quickly processed the transaction on his phone. And let's be honest, the phone Ho Chinhua had set up was fast. The transfer was very smooth. Transfer successful. Hello, you received it, right? Okay, I understand. After verifying with the finance department, the 1.1 billion yuan rent payment had been received. Kai Jijia was now even more respectful than before. Mr. Kai, when do you plan to renovate? I'll have someone process the permit for you immediately. Renovating a store in a shopping mall requires a permit. Otherwise, construction cannot proceed. Rénovation. Oh, I still need to make some arrangements. Could you process the permit for me first? You can contact my lawyer, Ms. Lu Shueqing, for the rest. Bian Kai had never run a shop before, so he had no idea about these things. Right now, he was mentally reviewing his attribute panel. His lifespan had increased by 11 days, becoming 362 days, and his skill points had also increased by 11, becoming 142. Sure enough, spending money is faster this way. Buying clothes and such is too boring. After arranging for the staff to process the renovation permit for Bian Kai, Kaijija hurriedly returned to his office. He had to report this to his superiors. Receiving 1.1 billion in rent was such good news that he had to report it to his superiors immediately. Bian Kai, once again acting as a hands-off manager, shoved all the store lease agreements into Lu Shiweching's hands. He didn't understand these things. Professional matters should be handled by professionals. Lu Shiweching stared speechlessly at the thick stack of contracts in her hands. This junior was really good at creating trouble. The Shuefu Hotel and Xinguang Digital City deals weren't even finished, and now there were 30 more stores. The key point was that he hadn't even explained what these 30 stores were for. Lu Shiweching was about to ask when she noticed Bian Kai being pulled away by Lin Yuan. Mr. Kai, it's like this. So much has happened just now. There's something I haven't told you yet. Our headquarters has decided to specially tailor a watch for you, worth a whopping 500 million. Payment is required now. If you don't want it, I'll immediately notify headquarters to stop the project. Bian Kai, upon hearing this, thought, this is amazing. Don't stop. I want it. Not just 500 million. I take 5 billion. Manager Lin, this is an honor for Qingda Jade. How could I refuse? Here's the POS machine. I'll swipe the card now. Also, I was thinking of mentioning that I smashed some things here, including the watches. Could you give me an estimate? And I'll compensate you. Mr. Kai, no need, no need. Those watches aren't worth much. They're all models worth hundreds of thousands, and they wouldn't break if dropped. The display case is even less valuable. You don't need to compensate. No, Manager Lin, let's keep things separate. I'm already embarrassed enough about fighting here. How can I let you bear the loss? Here's the deal. Calculate the price of those broken watches. I'll take them all and include the display case in that. Give me a total price, and I'll transfer it to you along with the 500 million. No one can stop Bian Kai from spending money. Wherever there's a need to spend money, he won't skimp on it. Wherever there's a reason to spend money, he won't let it slip by. All right then, Mr. Kai. I'll have someone take account right away. Lin Yuan, seeing Bian Kai's insistence on compensation, had no choice but to arrange for someone to count the damaged watches. Actually, none of them were broken. If Qingda Jade's watches broke from a single drop, it would be a disgrace to the century-old brand's reputation. Just as this was finished, Lu Shiweching arrived with a contract. Mr. Kai, what are you planning to do with these 30 shops? Just dumping them on me like this isn't a solution. At least tell me what you're going to sell. Otherwise, I don't know how to arrange the renovations. Huh? Sell what? Can I not sell anything? Bian Kai was truly perplexed this time. He already had business with the Shuefu Hotel and the digital mall, so no special arrangements were needed. But what about these retail stores? Lu Shiweching looked at Bian Kai as if he were an idiot. What did she mean by can I not sell anything? Why rent so many stores if you're not going to sell anything? Okay, senior, you should have people cordon off these shops first. No need for renovations yet. I have other uses for them. We can start work when I let you know. Bian Kai said, feigning an air of profound mystery. All right, then that's the only way for now. By the way, Mr. Kai, didn't you say you were planning to book our law firm? Xiao and I discussed it and decided to agree to your request. Really? Really? Senior, you guys are amazing. So I decided to increase the annual fee from 100 million to 200 million. Let's sign a 10-year contract first. Come on, give me the account number. I'll transfer the money right now. Bian Kai was overjoyed. Surprises kept coming. At this rate, he'd soon be back to normal lifespan. Ahem, Mr. Kai, 100 million is enough. If a law firm upgrades or adds staff later, you can add more fees. And just to clarify, you're hiring lawyers, not. How can that be? It has to be 200 million. Upgrading and adding staff now. Your current staff definitely won't be enough. Oh, right, senior. What did you say not? I'm hiring the entire law firm, of course. Give me the account number now. I'll transfer 2 billion to you first. You can handle the contracts and stuff. How could Bian Kai possibly spend less money? That would be killing him. Lu Shiweching, seeing the wooden-like Bian Kai, stomp her feet in frustration. After throwing an account number, she dragged Shi Ingxiu off to arrange things at the shop. Ching, why is your face red? You would happen to be a... Shi Ingxiu looked at the sulking Lu Shiweching and was utterly astonished. Was this still the same iron lady who commanded the legal profession? She looked like a resentful woman confined to her chambers. Shi Ingxiu, no one will think you're mute if you don't speak. Hurry up and get to work. That dead man has already transferred the money. From now on, we'll all have to serve him. Lu Shiweching said, showing Shi Ingxiu her phone. There was a message indicating that the lawyer's public account had received a transfer of 2 billion. Wow, Mr. Kai is so generous. He just bought it like that, 2 billion. How many years would we have to work to earn that much? He's so cool. I've decided I'm going to pursue Mr. Kai. Ching, you won't be jealous, will you? Get lost. Lin Yuan approached Bian Kai with a bill and said, Mr. Kai, there are a total of 8 watches that were dropped, worth 4 million. Actually, they weren't broken. They're all in good condition. I'll charge you 10,000 for the display cases, plus the 500 million for the custom watches, making a total of 504.01 million. Okay, no problem. Pack up those 8 watches for me and swipe the card. Lin Yuan took the POS machine. Strangely, the machine had responded when she tried earlier, but this time it swiped successfully, and over 500 million went directly into the company account. Mr. Kai, the payment has been received. Please wait a moment while I arrange for someone to pack up those watches. Lin Yuan finished speaking and left with the POS machine, while Bian Kai stood still, checking his attribute panel. Host, Bian Kai. Funds, unlimited. Lifespan, 1 year, 27 days. Skill points, 167 points. Constitution, 106, normal human 10. Mental strength, 107, normal human 10. Skill, basic combat. The lifespan section has changed. It's now using years as the unit. Default 360 days per year. Easier to calculate. Not bad. Not bad at all. This is a huge improvement. Bian Kai was filled with enthusiasm. He got so much lifespan on the first day. What would he be like in the future? Who knows? He might even live to be 100. System, add 50 points to my constitution and 50 points to my spirit. After his fight with Fatty Jean, Bian Kai thoroughly enjoyed the feeling of overwhelming power, so he spent another 100 skill points to improve his constitution and spirit. He had 67 skill points left, which he planned to save for emergencies. As a warm current flowed through him, Bian Kai clearly felt that his body seemed to have grown a little taller. Although he still looked very thin, the muscles under his clothes were noticeably bulging. He tried clenching his fist, and an explosive power filled his entire body. If Bai Mingwei showed up again with those 2 bodyguards, Bian Kai was confident he could take them both down with a single punch. Mr. Kai, Xiao and I have finished inspecting the store. There are no problems. We've already contacted people to start surrounding it. After visiting the store, Lu Shiweching and Shi Ingxiu returned to the boutique. Bian Kai was leisurely sitting on the sofa, drinking coffee, with Lin Yuan chatting and laughing with him. The two were quite comfortable, which infuriated the 2 women watching. Oh, seniors, you've worked hard. Please sit down and rest for a while. Manager Lin, please bring out the watches I just picked out. Lin Yuan got up and went to the back, returning shortly with 2 exquisite watch boxes, which she handed to Lu Shiweching and Shi Ingxiu. Seniors, do you like these watches? Since you'll be working for me from now on, I should at least give you a small gift, so I picked out 2 watches for you. Lu Shiweching and Shi Ingxiu, who had been somewhat resentful, immediately lost all their anger upon seeing the watches Bian Kai had given them. Yuan, tell your sisters the truth. How much are these watches? Lu Shiweching looked at the incredibly exquisite silver-white lady's watch in the box. Its classic elegance and simple design made it unmistakably expensive. Shi Ingxiu's watch was light blue, with an extremely ornate dial and a matching light blue strap. exuding unparalleled luxury. Sigh, Mr. Kai is really good to you guys. You made the right choice in choosing a boss. My shop only had these two top-of-the-line women's watches, and Mr. Kai bought them both. They weren't expensive. Yours was $8 million, and Attorney Sure's was $8.3 million. Lin Yuan said with immense admiration. She was genuinely envious. Although Mr. Kai wasn't very old, he was truly willing to spend money on his women. If it weren't for, never mind. Mr. Kai, we can't accept these. We really can't accept them. They're too valuable. Even Shio didn't dare accept them this time. $8 million for a watch. That's almost as much as a top-of-the-line supercar. My two senior sisters, listen to me. I'm not good at management, and I'll need your hard work to manage these businesses in the future. Please accept the watches. You're both billionaires now, and an $8 million watch is more than enough for your status. If you refuse, you'll be disrespecting your junior. Look how beautiful they are. Bian Kai spoke as he took the watches from the box and placed them on their wrists with gentle, fluid movements. At that moment, Bian Kai exuded an aura of masculine charm. Lu Shiweqing and Lu Shiweqing couldn't refuse Bian Kai's offer and finally accepted. However, their gazes towards him had changed, revealing something indescribable. Lin Yuan watched this scene with envy. She had once been treated with such gentleness, but some things ultimately cannot escape the test of time. 6 p.m. Bian Kai and the other two entered a Western restaurant in Hengxiang Shopping Mall. This time, Shio was treating. Having received such an expensive gift from Bian Kai, treating him to a meal was only right. Bian Kai didn't care. A meal wouldn't cost much, so he wouldn't compete with the senior. The handsome man and beautiful woman immediately attracted everyone's attention. Fortunately, Shio had booked a private room in advance, preventing the three from being stared at. In the largest private room of Emperor KTV in Zhongbei City, Jin Mingzhu's face was gloomy. His fat, short hands were forcefully kneading a heavily made-up woman, causing her tears to well up. But she dared not make a sound, gritting her teeth and enduring it. She knew this fat man needed to vent. The humiliation she had suffered during the day was simply too great. Not only was the gift he planned to give by Qingshan gone, but his hand was almost broken. How could Fatty Jean possibly swallow this insult? Just then, the door to the private room opened from the outside, and a man wearing gold-rimmed glasses, with a refined appearance, walked in. Upon seeing the newcomer, Jin Mingzhu pushed the woman in his arms aside and asked, "Have you found out anything about that kid?" The bespectacled man placed a stack of documents in front of Jin Mingzhu. Jin Mingzhu glanced at them haphazardly and tossed them aside. Get to the point. No need for all this beating around the bush. Okay, Mr. Jin, I've looked into this guy's background. His name is Bian Kai, a sophomore at North China University. Oh, he should be a junior after summer vacation. He's from Qinghe Town, and his parents are factory workers. They're very poor. The only thing worth noting is that he's by Ming Hui's college roommate, but their relationship is terrible. The girl he's been pursuing since high school was slept with by Ming Hui, and I heard from by Ming Hui's underlings that Bian Kai got a beating from by Ming Hui last night. That's all? Are you sure you haven't made a mistake? Jin Mingzhu looked at the bespectacled man, his face so dark it was almost dripping with malice. That's all, Mr. Jin. This kid is easy to investigate. No mistake. He's just a poor loser, a powerless weakling, and almost got beaten to death by young Master Bai. The bespectacled man was a private investigator and didn't know what happened to Fatty Jean at Hengxiang Building. Of course, Fatty Jean himself hadn't told him. It was too embarrassing. So he was very curious why the owner of the prestigious feat construction would investigate a poor student and even offer him a high price of 200,000. I told you that's all. I gave you 200,000 and you investigated this stuff. No mistake. You still have the nerve to tell me you're not wrong? I'll show you you're not wrong. Bang. 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 The bespectacled man didn't even have time to react before he was beaten up, crying and begging for mercy. What was going on? He was a renowned private investigator. He couldn't possibly be wrong. Boss Jean, please stop hitting me. You have to tell me what happened. My investigation can't be wrong. No problem. Fine. I'll show you whether there's a problem or not. Fatty Jean said, lifting the bespectacled man from the ground and tossing him a cell phone playing a surveillance video. Judging from the angle, it was probably taken by camera outside the China Jade store. Given Fatty Jin's status in Zhongbei, obtaining this surveillance video wouldn't be difficult. Although there was no sound in the video, the store manager's respectful demeanor towards Bian Kai and the scene of Fatty Jean and his two bodyguards being beaten were captured very clearly. This can't be. The bespectacled man was dumbfounded. Yes, he was investigating the young man in the video, but this wasn't right. At this moment, he finally understood why he had been beaten. Powerless? Poor loser? Weakling? Which of these details matches the young man in the video? No wonder Fatty Jean was furious. He was lucky he hadn't killed him after such humiliation. Boss Jean, Master Jean, give me 3 more days. I'll reinvestigate. I was careless before. I guarantee this time, I'll find out everything about this kid's ancestors. Alright, Dog Lao Si, I'll give you 3 more days. If the results still don't satisfy me, then you can disappear. Okay, Master Jean, I'll go right now without stopping. The bespectacled man, Dog Lao Si, scrambled out of the private room. Fatty Jean picked up the documents he had previously tossed aside and began to read them. These documents detailed many things about Bian Kai from childhood to adulthood, including his parents' background, family situation, Bian Kai's schooling experiences, and so on. Very detailed indeed. If Bian Kai saw these things, he would definitely be astonished. This person knew him better than he knew himself. To be able to find this information in such a short time showed that Dog Lao Si was truly resourceful. After reviewing the documents in his hand, Fatty Jean became even more convinced that this was definitely not the same person. Bian Kai in the documents was too innocent. All his experiences from kindergarten to university were verifiable. Perhaps it was just a coincidence that they looked alike. Jean Ponzi was terrified after being beaten. Although he desperately wanted revenge, he needed to figure out the kid's background first. Jin Mingzhu's current status in Zhongbei City wasn't solely due to the Bai family's connections. He himself was a very cautious person. Judging from Lin Yuan's attitude towards Bian Kai at China Jade, this kid's identity was far from simple. Blindly seeking revenge without knowing the other party's background could easily get him into trouble. If the other party was someone even the Bai family couldn't afford to offend, he'd better abandon the idea of revenge as soon as possible, and might even have to go and apologize. But if he had no background, then Jean Ponzi would make this kid regret ever being born. Zhongbei University, gatekeeper's office. Grandpa Go was almost going crazy. Since 3 p.m., packages had been constantly arriving, all addressed to Bian Kai. At first, things were fine, but as the number of packages increased, the small guardhouse was almost overflowing. The worst part was that Grandpa Good dare not touch them. The deliverman said that each piece of clothing inside was worth tens or even hundreds of thousands of yuan. If he damaged even one item, he couldn't afford to pay for it, even if he sold his old bones. It wasn't until nearly 5 o'clock that no more packages arrived. The guardhouse was completely overflowing. Even Grandpa G's table was piled high with shoeboxes. Fortunately, they had left him a place to sit. Otherwise, Grandpa Gu would have had to squat outside. Damn it. Who is this Bian Kai anyway? A student or a teacher? How come he bought so many clothes? This must be worth at least tens of millions. And there's not even a phone number on the delivery slip. Damn it. Whoever he is, when he gets here, this old man will have to settle this with him. To protect customer privacy, these stores hide the recipient's phone number. The delivery guy only needs to deliver the items to the security guard at the gate of North China University, as requested. At 8:30 p.m., Bian Kai returned to North China University in Lu Shiweqing's Bentley Flying Spur, with Shio following behind in a Ferrari 488. The legal profession seems to be really lucrative. Both of their cars are worth over 4 million yuan. Lu Shiweqing's Flying Spur looks more understated, while Shio's bright red sports car is incredibly flashy. Mr. Kai, I'll stop here for now. I need to deal with the properties you bought today tomorrow, so I won't keep you company any longer. Please feel free to contact me if you need anything. Lu Shiueching didn't linger after dropping Bian Kai off at the school gate. She was exhausted, both physically and mentally, and needed a good rest tonight. Shou also got out of the car to say goodbye to Bian Kai. Everything that had happened today had also affected this sexy and alluring beauty. She even wanted to visit Bian Kai's dormitory. However, Bian Kai told her that outsiders weren't allowed into the school during the summer vacation, which made the beautiful Shou roll her eyes. What a clueless straight man. He wouldn't even accept a beautiful woman offered to him. Humph. Okay, thank you for your trouble. If you're really too busy, just hire more people. I can increase the fees. After watching the two beauties drive away, Bian Kai turned and entered the school. But just as he stepped through the gate, a figure suddenly appeared before him. Luckily, Bian Kai's mental strength was strong enough to spot Grandpa Ge beforehand. Otherwise, one punch would have been enough to kill the old man, if not kill him. Are you Bian Kai? Grandpa Ge glared angrily at Bian Kai. Returning in a luxury car and dressed in expensive clothes, it was most likely this young man. Sir, my name is Bian Kai. What's wrong? Bian Kai was completely bewildered. He passed by the school gate every day and had never been stopped by this old man before. What was going on today? What's wrong? You're asking me what's wrong? Come and see what all this is. Grandpa Ge didn't mince words with Bian Kai, pulling him into the guardhouse. Bian Kai was shocked by the mountain of packages piled up inside. Actually, he had completely forgotten about buying the clothes. Too much had happened since then, and the clothes hadn't cost much, so he quickly forgot. Sir, are all these mine? Nonsense. If they're not yours, what are they? Move them out right now, or I won't even have a place to sleep. If the next time, I'll throw you out onto the street. Hey sir, calm down, I'll move it right away. Can I borrow your trolley? Bian Kai was also embarrassed. He hadn't expected his haul at Hungxiang building that afternoon to be so impressive, especially considering he'd only spent a little over 20 million. Sigh, he should probably buy fewer clothes in the future. Enough is enough. They don't cost much and take up space. It took Bian Kai a full hour to move the mountain of clothes back to his dorm. Now things were quiet at Grandpa Ge's place, but his dorm was piled high again. What the hell am I going to do? I didn't think about this when I bought them. It doesn't seem right to just leave them piled up like this in the dorm. Although he was the only one living in the dorm now. What if the other three came back and found their beds covered in clothes? Their relationship wasn't great to begin with, and they might even start fighting. Ugh, how could I be so stupid? Why not just buy a house tomorrow? Perfect for spending money to prolong my life. Bian Kai slapped his forehead, inwardly berating himself for his foolishness. He had more money than he could spend, yet he was still worrying about where to put his clothes. That's enough for today. I'll buy a house tomorrow and move in. I won't have to live in this dorm anymore. Having made up his mind, Bian Kai went into the bathroom to take a shower. The cool water washed over his almost perfect physique, his muscles defined but not bulky, perfectly complementing his chiseled, handsome face. Truly a peerless gentleman. After showering, it was already 11 p.m. Bian Kai lay in bed and took out his phone. After once again marveling at the quality of his older brother's phone, Bian Kai logged into the Frog live streaming platform. Late at night, the only place to spend a lot of money was on live streaming platforms. Although spending 100 million last night was a bit tiring, it was crucial. First and foremost, it added a day to his lifespan. More importantly, it proved the system's function was real. You could buy life with money. After opening Frogfly, Bian Kai found his inbox was flooded with over 99 private messages. The sensation caused by spending 100 million yuan on gifts last night was enormous. Most of the messages were from female streamers, some even sending their own photos, hoping to win the favor of this big shot, Bian Kai. The messages from Pei Chuxue were completely buried, and since Bian Kai didn't even remember her, the beautiful Pei was simply ignored. Bian Kai was too lazy to search for a live stream. He just randomly picked one of the female streamers who had sent photos, one that was barely passable, and clicked on it. Mainly because he'd seen beauties like Lu Shiueching, Shi Xiu, and Lin Yuan during the day. The streamers on Frogfly seemed rather ordinary now. Emperor and all that are but fleeting clouds, arriving in Miao Miao's live stream. As soon as Bian Kai entered the live stream room, a massive entrance effect filled the entire screen, with a huge crown remaining on the screen for a full 5 seconds before disappearing. Miao Miao had been live streaming for a while, but she didn't have any real talent. Her live streams relied entirely on her cuteness and charm. Although her good looks attracted some fans, most were just casual viewers, and she didn't have many big spenders. Last night, envious of Pei Chuxue receiving a 100 million gift from Bian Kai, she sent 2 photos of herself to the big shot, just to try her luck. Unexpectedly, it actually attracted him. The little girl was so excited she could barely speak. Welcome, Brother Fuyun, to my live stream. What kind of performance would you like to see, Brother Fuyun? Meow Meow can make awe, and she can even do some mixed-up sounds, brother. Although the voice was enough to give anyone goosebumps, Bian Kai had no time to pay attention to her. The first thing he did upon entering the live stream was open the recharge panel. He wanted to see if his recharge limit had really increased to 10 million. That Frogcio's secretary had said she'd adjusted for him earlier that day. He didn't know if it was true or not. Frog's efficiency was truly impressive. They really did raise the single recharge limit to 10 million. What else is there to say? Bian Kai immediately deposited 1 billion yuan. It wasn't that he didn't want to deposit more. Although his brother Ho Qinyue's phone was of good quality, it would still take 100 deposits to complete 1 billion yuan. At an average of 1 deposit every 10 seconds, that would take more than 10 minutes. Bian Kai was getting really annoyed with the process. 1 billion yuan was a considerable sum. He still had to spend it all later, which would be the most tiring part. He'd stop here for tonight and go to sleep. After completing the deposit, Bian Kai closed the deposit panel and actually entered Miao Miao's live stream room. At this time, there were only a little over 1,000 people in the live stream room, and some of them had been invited by others. After all, with the big shot Fuyun appearing in this live stream room, the scene would definitely be grand. Is that really Floating Cloud? Why hasn't he made a sound all this time? Is the person upstairs new here? Judging from Floating Cloud's actions last night, he's probably recharging right now. Exactly, he's definitely recharging. A big shot is a big shot. Even recharging takes this long. How much money did he recharge? This little streamer is really making money today. Floating Cloud must have recharged at least tens of millions by now. The comment section was already exploding. Everyone was discussing Floating Cloud. Meow Meow, meanwhile, kept crying out, ah, brother, pouting and blinking her big eyes, trying her best to look cute. She was cute enough, but a little too affected, which made Bian Kai put down his hand that was about to place a gift. Damn it, what the hell is this? Bian Kai felt nauseous looking at the streamer on the screen, who was pretending to be an innocent young girl. And what was that voice? It was giving him goosebumps. No way. Even though he needed to spend money, spending on this woman felt like a waste. Forget it. Let's find someone else. Bian Kai couldn't take it anymore and simply left the live stream. Hey, why did Floating Cloud leave? Streamer, you're so fake. You disgusted him and he left. Roughly speaking, the streamer lost at least 100 million this time. Let's go, let's see where the big shot went. Follow him. Whoosh. Most of the viewers instantly left the live stream, leaving only a little over 100 people. Meow Meow was completely bewildered. What happened? Wasn't she cute? Don't all men like sweet, girly female voices? At this moment, all Meow Meow wanted to do was sing, boss, come back quickly. I can't bear this alone. Bian Kai, having exited the live stream, randomly refreshed the live stream feed when a strange image suddenly appeared on the screen. On the screen, a child who looked about 6 or 7 years old was lying on a hospital bed with tubes inserted all over his body, while a young mother held up a sign. Because the screen was too small, Bian Kai couldn't see what the sign said. But this scene, suddenly appearing amidst a sea of beautiful women, still caught Bian Kai's attention. Out of curiosity, Bian Kai clicked into the live stream. After clicking in, Bian Kai could see more clearly. the live stream appeared to be in a hospital. A little boy about 6 or 7 years old lay on the bed, extremely thin, his eyes closed, various tubes inserted into his body. A woman, probably in her 30s, knelt on the floor beside the bed, holding up a piece of white paper, her eyes filled with despair. Bian Kai carefully read the contents of the paper. Please, everyone, save my child. He's only 7 years old, a flower in the prime of his life, but he has leukemia. A suitable bone marrow match has been found, and the donor has agreed to donate, but the medical expenses are 400,000 yuan. The child's father ran away because he couldn't afford the exorbitant costs, leaving my son and me alone. My name is Jiang Laniying, ID number XXXX. You can verify this information at the Jiangnan Provincial Central Hospital. Please, everyone, save my child. Bian Kai's eyes involuntarily welled up with tears. He could see that the despair and pleading in the mother's eyes were genuine. If he hadn't been bound to the system last night, would he be lying in a hospital bed, covered in tubes like this little boy? Or perhaps he would already be dead in the morgue. Would his parents have the same expressions then? Despair and helplessness? The thought of that scene caused Bian Kai a sudden, unbearable pain in his heart. Tears streamed silently down his face, and his hand unconsciously pressed against the $1 million gift. A guardian angel, a gift specially customized for him by the Frog platform. Emperor, and all that are but fleeting clouds descend upon Daodu's live stream. A huge crown instantly filled the entire live stream screen, and the number of viewers surged from a few dozen to over 1,000 in an instant. These were all casual viewers who had come with Bian Kai to watch the spectacle. Boom! Suddenly, a gigantic angel appeared out of thin air, its pair of pure white wings even extending beyond the screen. Its fairy tale-like, beautiful face radiated a faint holy light. The angel opened its arms, seemingly embracing something, with a glittering, starlit Milky Way behind it. Everything is fleeting, a custom-made gift for Daodu. Guardian Angel *1. Everything is fleeting, a custom-made gift for Daodu. Guardian Angel *2. Everything is fleeting, a custom-made gift for Daodu. Guardian Angel *3. A huge banner floated across various live stream rooms, causing the entire Frog platform to explode. Almost simultaneously, tens of millions of people flooded into this live stream room. Jiang Laniying stared blankly at the angels descending from the sky, unable to react for a moment. Holy crap, Floating Cloud has made a move. What kind of gift is this? I've never seen it before. It seems to be a custom-made gift. Holy crap, how much does one cost? Insider information. This is a gift specially designed for Floating Cloud by the Frog platform. One costs 1 million. 1 million? Wow, that's almost 20 years of my salary. This guy is so generous. The comment section scrolled wildly. Everyone was shocked by the price of this gift. At this moment, Jiang Laniying also recovered from her dazed state. When she saw the comment section discussing that the gift cost 1 million, she was so excited that she burst into tears. The child could be saved. Just one guardian angel was all it took to save the child's life. Even though the platform would take half, the remaining half was still 500,000 yuan. This was the child's life-saving money. Thank you, thank you. Jiang Laniying was a loss for words, kneeling on the ground and kowtowing repeatedly, a large bump visibly swelling on her forehead. Only then did the viewers in the live stream realize what was happening. The special effects of the gift were so overwhelming that they couldn't see anything on the screen. It wasn't until someone clicked on the streamer's profile that they discovered it was about a child desperately needing money to save their life. Brother Fuyun has really moved me. It turns out he cares about more than just pretty girls. This child is so pitiful, so young. I can't hold it anymore. Can someone lend me a tissue? Sigh. I followed Dada before, but my resources are limited. Sponsoring 1,000 or 2 is okay, but 400,000. Sigh. Brothers, we can't let our leader fight alone. We Chinese are all about unity. Although we can't help much, I'm willing to donate my living expenses for this month. It's not much, only 1,000 yuan, but I hope it can help Dada. I don't have much either. I'm donating 200 yuan of my savings to Daodu. Let's fight alongside Brother Fuyun. Daodu, you'll get better. Many people, inspired by Bian Kai, spontaneously started sending gifts. Although the amount wasn't large, the sheer number of people doing it made all the difference. Even if only half of the tens of millions of people actually spent money, and each person only spent 100 or so yuan, that would still amount to tens of millions. At the Jiangnan Provincial Hospital of Traditional Chinese Medicine, the commotion in Dodo's ward also attracted the attention of the on-duty doctor, Jiang Yingying. The main issue was Jiang Laniying's extremely loud crying. Dodo's mother, what's wrong? Why is your head bleeding? Stop kowtowing, get up quickly. Jiang Yingying entered the ward and saw Jiang Laniying kneeling on the floor, her face covered in blood, still kowtowing repeatedly. She quickly stepped forward to stop her. Dr. Jiang, Dodo can be saved. Dodo can be saved. Look. Jiang Laniying, despite the blood on her face, pointed at the live stream screen and said to Jiang Yingying, having been pulled up. Jiang Yingying also looked at the phone with curiosity and was immediately stunned by what she saw. Millions of people were frantically showering gifts, countless white angels flashing across the screen. Everything else is fleeting, sending Daodu a custom-made gift. Guardian Angel *100. Bian Kai stopped after sending 100 Guardian Angels. It wasn't that he didn't want to send more, but there were simply too many people in the live stream. Most of them might be good people, but even if just one bad person among 10 million coveted this wealth, it would be a devastating blow to this already broken family. Sometimes having too much money isn't a good thing. Money is a good thing, but it's also the root of many evils. 100 million is enough for Daodu to get treatment and live a happy life. Any more isn't necessarily a good thing. Although Bian Kai stopped sending gifts, the other viewers in the live stream didn't stop. Gifts worth a penny or two, or a dollar or two, kept floating across the screen. As the Guardian Angel effect slowly faded, the scene in the hospital room appeared on the screen. Jiang Laniying stood there, her face covered in blood, next to a doctor in a white coat whose alluring figure was still undeniable. On the hospital bed, Dodo was still asleep, his occasional furrowed brows revealing his pain. This horrific scene moved the millions of viewers in the live stream once again, and even those who hadn't previously sent gifts opened a recharge page. This image constantly reminded Bian Kai of himself, and he couldn't bear to watch any longer. He left a message and exited the live stream. Hurry up and get your child treated. Check your private messages when you have time. I left my contact information. Dodo can contact me if he has any problems. After leaving the live stream, Bian Kai was deeply disturbed. Even the extra day of life he gained on his attribute panel couldn't cheer him up. If he were the one lying in that hospital bed, how would his parents feel? The system gave him hope for life, and he, in turn, gave Dodo hope for life. Life is so miraculous, yet so cruel. People may not feel the power of life while they're alive. Only when they're near death do they realize how precious it is. Guanghua Residential Area, a mid to high-end community in Zhongbei City, is where most high-level white-collar workers choose to buy homes. At this moment, in the living room of one of the large apartments, Lu Xiueqing and Shi Yingxiu sat on the sofa, tears welling in their eyes. A phone sat in front of them, and on the screen was Dodo's live stream. Ching, is this Fuyun really CEO Kai? Yes, during lunch at the Shuefu Hotel this morning, Frog platform called CEO Kai, and he admitted that he is Fuyun. Is this the real CEO Kai? Young, handsome, rich, and so kind-hearted. Ching, I think I've fallen in love with him. I'm not kidding. Shi Yingxiu's words didn't elicit much of a reaction from Lu Xiueqing, because not only her best friend, but she herself had also developed a deep affection for this junior. Xiu, CEO Kai is too outstanding, and we're at least 8 years older than him. Sigh, it's destined to be fruitless. But what can I do if I've already fallen in love with him? No, I have to call him and confess now. Shering Shio was about to call Bian Kai, but Lu Shiweching stopped her. Shio, I know you like him, and to be honest, I do too, but calm down, okay? He's our boss now, and we don't know what he's thinking. Calling him rashly might offend him. Let's wait and see. I don't want to. I'm gonna confess now. I'll just pursue him. You brat Ching Ching, are you worried I'll steal you, man? Shering Shio, you ungrateful brat. I'm just giving you a friendly reminder. Knowing Mr. Kai as I do, you better not make that call. And I'm not worried at all. We can just. Shering Shio looked at Lu Shiweching like she was a rare find. Was this still the same iron lady of the legal profession? She didn't even mind being with her. What are you looking at? Do you mind? Lu Shiweching was annoyed by Shering Shio's gaze. Tisich, if you don't mind, why should I? It's just working together. Who's afraid of who? We'll see who's better at their job. You shameless brat. How could you say something like that? I'll beat you to death. Lu Shiweching's pretty face flushed red from Shering Shio's words, and she slapped Shering Shio's smooth, white thigh, making it dizzying. Shering Shio, naturally, wasn't going to be bullied, and directly pinched Lu Shiweching's fair cheek with her right hand. For a moment, the living room was filled with lively chatter, quite a spectacle. Any man who saw it would probably bleed to death. Frog headquarters. The secretary knocked on Dai Tianlu's office door again. What is it? Dai Tianlu was handling some business. Seeing the secretary enter, he stretched and leaned back in his chair. Mr. Dai, Shimadoshu Fuyun just recharged 1 billion on the platform, and 100 million has already been spent. How much? Dai Tianlu was so shocked, he jumped up from his chair. 1 billion and 100 million has already been spent. Holy crap, we really caught a big shot this time. This guy's got way too much money. By the way, who did he spend that 100 million on? Dai Tianlu double-checked the amount, his face filled with shock. He was now very curious about which streamer had won this big shot's favor. It's a 7-year-old boy named Dodo. He has leukemia and urgently needs money for treatment. His father ran away, and his mother started live streaming to earn money to save her child. The secretary briefly recounted the situation. Dai Tianlu fell into deep thought upon hearing this. The secretary continued. Thanks to the influence of the big shot Fu Yun, 8 million people have gifted this child, totaling 60 million yuan. Mr. Dai, our platform's revenue tonight is equivalent to a week's worth. The secretary became increasingly excited as she spoke, but Dai Tianlu remained silent, lost in thought. After a long silence, he spoke. Tell the operations center that we're not taking a single penny of the gift revenue share from Dowda's livestream tonight. Give it all to this kid, 100% of it. Have them prepare a statement overnight, saying that Shimadou Shafiyun's actions are deeply respected by the fraud platform. Therefore, we've decided to forego all gift revenue share and bestow upon Shimadou Shafiyun the exclusive title of fraud platform charity ambassador. Mr. Dai, what are you doing? That's 80 million in revenue share. You just giving up like that. The secretary looked at Dai Tianlu in disbelief, unable to understand why her boss would do this. Xiaoyong, how long have you been with me? Dai Tianlu didn't answer his secretary Yang Ying's question, but instead asked a different one. It's been about 2 years, Mr. Dai. I joined Frogway right after graduation. 2 years? That's still too short. Why did Fuyun spend 100 million on gifts for this little boy tonight? Because the little boy is sick and urgently needs medical treatment, so Fuyun did it. What does that show? It shows that Fuyun is a very sentimental person. And why did those 8 million people follow suit and spend gifts? Because they were moved by Fuyun's actions. In this situation, if our platform still takes that 50% cut, what will people think of us? Won't they gossip about us behind our backs? Xiaoyong, although we're businessmen, there are some kinds of money we can't take, especially life-saving money. Taking will kill us. Do you understand? Dai Tianlu's earnest words made Yang Ying instantly understand. Yes, this 80 million is tempting, but it's only a short-term benefit. Once we take it, Frogway will definitely be condemned by everyone, and the losses will be much more than just 80 million. Also, Xiaoyong, call Fuyun later and tell him our decision. Since this big shot values relationships, we'll play the emotional card and keep him a frog. This statement also proves that Dai Tianlu's decision wasn't based on sympathy. He was actually considering the issue from a businessman's perspective. He was pursuing long-term profits. Tonight he might lose 80 million, but as long as he retained this bigwig and forewent the profit-sharing arrangement to attract more people to the game, the future gains would definitely far exceed 80 million. The secretary looked at her boss with admiration. No wonder he'd been in the business world for so many years. His foresight was truly remarkable. Okay, Mr. Dai, I'll call Boss Fuyun right away. Ring ring. Still immersed in grief, Bian Kai was awakened by his phone ringing. Who was it calling so late at night? Bian Kai picked up his phone and saw it was an unknown number. He didn't have the habit of hanging up, so he answered directly. Hello, is this Mr. Bian Kai? This is Yang Ying, the president's secretary of the fraud platform. A very pleasant woman's voice came from the other end of the line. Only after hearing her introduce herself did Bian Kai remember that this woman had called him earlier that day. Hello, this is Bian Kai. What brings you here so late? Mr. Bian Kai, we noticed your act of kindness earlier, and our CEO, Mr. Dai Tianlu, greatly admires your actions. Therefore, it has been decided that all gifts received in Dowdu's livestream tonight will be donated to Dowdu for medical treatment, with the platform taking no cut, and the withdrawal process will be processed immediately. Furthermore, our CEO has decided to bestow upon you the exclusive title of Fraud Platform Charity Ambassador, which will become the prefix of your nickname. Yang Ying relayed her boss's decision to Bian Kai as quickly as possible, sensing a hint of impatience in his voice. Indeed, calling someone so late is bound to cause some impatience. Bian Kai was initially taken aback, but then understood why the CEO was doing this. With his current mental strength of 227, his analytical speed far surpassed that of ordinary people. Okay, then I thank you on Dowda's behalf. I wonder if it would be convenient for your CEO, Dai, to meet with me? There's something I'd like to discuss with him. Huh? Meet? I need to ask CEO Dai about that. Please wait a moment. As soon as the secretary finished speaking, Bian Kai immediately followed up. Tell your CEO Dai that I'll be spending another 900 million on gifts on your platform later. I wonder if your CEO Dai would be so kind as to accept such a large gift. Huh? 900 million? Are you sure it's 900 million? Yes, 900 million. Just tell your CEO Dai. Okay, I'll go right away. Please wait a moment. I'll call you back. Bian Kai's reason for wanting to meet Dai Tianlu was actually quite simple. He wanted to buy Wawa. He found that gift giving was still too slow, so he decided to simply buy the platform. Spending tens of billions on such a large live streaming platform shouldn't be unusual, right? Wouldn't that be much faster than gift giving? Even if he bought it, it wouldn't stop him from sending gifts. Even though half would go back to him according to the platform's revenue sharing rules, the other half would still be spent. Besides, if the platform became his, he could just change the revenue sharing ratio, right? Give the streamer 80% and the platform 20%. Wouldn't that mean he'd spend even more money? I'm a genius. Bian Kai waited happily for Yang Ying to call him back. Sure enough, less than 3 minutes later, Yang Ying called back. Hello, Mr. Bian Kai. Our CEO, Mr. Dai, will speak directly with you now. Hello, Mr. Bian Kai. This is Dai Tianlu, the president of the Wawa platform. May I ask why you've gone to such lengths to invite me to meet? A deep male voice came from the other end of the line. Upon hearing it was Dai Tianlu, Bian Kai immediately perked up. Haha, Mr. Dai, it's an honor to meet you. This is something that's difficult to discuss over the phone. Would it be convenient for you to come to Zhongbei City so we can talk in person? Of course, I'll still send the 900 million yuan worth of gifts. Bian Kai thought about it carefully. Bringing up the acquisition of the Wawa platform directly over the phone would likely be seen as crazy. They might even hang up immediately. It's better to discuss this in person. Mr. Bian Kai is a benefactor to our platform. How can we refuse such an invitation? Okay, I'll arrange some company matters and then head to Zhongbei City. I should arrive the day after tomorrow. All right, let me know before you come, and I'll send someone to pick you up at the airport. After arranging a meeting, they hung up. Bian Kai, as promised, sent a total of 900 million yuan in gifts across 20 live streams. Afterward, his lifespan increased to 1 year and 37 days, and his skill points reached 77. He specifically searched for cases similar to Dowdu's, but found none, as live streaming platforms are primarily focused on making money. Therefore, most of the live streams recommended on the platform are designed to attract viewers to send gifts, especially those featuring attractive female streamers. Cases like Dowdu's might exist, but they rarely appear in the recommendations. The Wawa platform exploded tonight. Bian Kai's performance was legendary. His 1 billion yuan in donations broke all previous donation records across all live streaming platforms, including Wawa. Tens of millions followed Bian Kai, going to whichever live stream he entered. All the streamers tonight were praying for him to enter their streams. The live streams visited by Bian Kai received donations ranging from tens of millions to hundreds of millions. It can be said that he single-handedly created 20 multi-millionaire tycoons. The wings of a guardian angel fluttered across the Wawa platform all night. Bian Kai's phenomenal success naturally attracted the attention of other live streaming platforms, who all inquired about the identity of this big shot. However, Dai Tianlu gave a strict order to all employees in the company who knew Bian Kai's identity, even requiring them to sign confidentiality agreements. Anyone who leaked Bian Kai's information would face huge compensation. But two people had very mixed feelings. One was Meow Meow, the streamer who was the first to be visited by Bian Kai, and she was completely bewildered. She didn't know what she had done to offend this big shot. Even though some other streamers weren't as good looking as her, why did he give him gifts but not her? Completely confused, she could only frantically send private messages to Bian Kai, along with her personal contact information. Not only that, she also carefully selected dozens of beautiful photos and sent them as well, practically saying to Bian Kai, "This humble woman begs for your services. Please favor me." Big shot. The other was Pei Chushua. She hadn't actually streamed tonight, mainly because she hadn't recovered from the shock of the previous night. She only found out that the floating cloud boss had reappeared and was showering her with gifts after a friend messaged her. That's when she logged into her alternate account and joined a massive gift-giving frenzy. What does floating cloud boss mean by this? Didn't he specifically send me gifts last night? But that's impossible. I'm so beautiful. There are hardly any prettier girls on the entire Frog platform. So, does that mean I don't have to worry about being sexually harassed by this big shot anymore? Can I start streaming again? But why am I so resentful? Is it because I explicitly rejected him in a private message that he's been showering other streamers with gifts? Is he getting revenge on me this way? Pretending not to care about me? That must be it. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Who would bother showering so many gifts on 20 streamers, especially since some of them are so ugly? This big shot is definitely getting revenge on me. No, I have to message him and tell him not to do anything crazy for me. If he really wants to meet privately, we can go somewhere crowded and have coffee together to clear things up. Pei Chushua was extremely confident in her looks and talents, and she had the right to be. She was indeed a stunning beauty, possessed a naturally beautiful voice, and was a skilled dancer. No normal man could resist her, unless he was abnormal. Therefore, she believed the powerful man was definitely smitten with her. Furthermore, since Bian Kai hadn't offered her the emperor's title, only to her, it meant he only truly cared about her. The only explanation was that her private message had provoked him, leading to his crazy action. In reality, Bian Kai didn't offer the emperor's title simply because it was too cheap. Only 500,000, less than the cost of a guardian angel. He could have used that time to send out 10 guardian angels already, and he hadn't even bothered to read Pei Chushua's private messages. There were too many to read. Besides, Bian Kai didn't even remember her, so even if he had read them, he would only have muttered, "Crazy,"